Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Satya Nadella.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Build 2015. It's exciting to be here at Build and in San Francisco. In fact, I was just recounting, I've been at every developer conference of ours since 1991. In fact, the very first one as a third-party developer, and after that as an employee at Microsoft, and it's just awesome to be here. I know we have a fantastic show lined up for you. We have lots of things to talk about in today's keynote, but at the rest of the conference, lots of things to show you, lots of announcements, many, many new things that I think are going to be very exciting in terms of what you will make of them on day one and what you will do on day two and thereafter. For me, in some sense, this conference is all about celebrating and challenging the creativity, the ingenuity that you all bring to build new and great things on top of platform innovations that we make available to you. And that phenomena is not new. In fact, it goes back to the very origin of our company. Microsoft was founded by two developers who had a bold ambition to empower other developers to build new and great things. In fact, the tweet you see on the screen is the tweet from Paul Allen on our 40th anniversary. We turned 40 in April, and these are the first lines of code that Bill and Paul wrote. It turns out that Bill wrote the runtime and Paul wrote everything else, and there's this nice comment about we should put better errors. So it started at the very beginning. And when you look at it, that ethos, a lot has changed in the 40 years since. A lot of technologies have come, a lot of technologies have gone. In fact, the very first basic interpreter was written on a PDP-10 with an 8080 emulator that was built so that you could target the Altair microcomputer. And in the 40 years, a lot of devices have come and gone, a lot of technologies have come and gone, as they should. But what has remained constant is that ethos, that core that we are a developer company and a platform company first. It is our mission to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And when we talk about empowering every person, it starts by empowering every developer on the planet. What you will hear us talk about in this conference and even in this morning's keynote is perhaps the broadest lens through which we've viewed developers, development, and platforms. We're going to want developers, from student developers to startups to enterprise developers to ISVs to people writing mobile apps to people venturing into virtual reality and mixed reality. All of these developers to come, exploit, take advantage of the platform innovation that you will see this morning and throughout this conference. We also want to make sure that we build bridges for you. We want you to be able to bring your skills, your technology choices, your languages to our platforms and then build from there new and great things. That concept or that approach is something that's going to be deeply ingrained in everything we do across all of our platforms. Over the last year, I've had a chance to talk to many developers. throughout the world. I met a couple of student developers who won the Imagine Club last year from Australia. They built this fantastic mobile app that it made it possible for you to be able to detect anemia in children by just using a simple app and taking a selfie. And that app now is changing lives in Africa and other developing parts of the world. I had a chance to meet a middle schooler in the Bronx, a girl who built a robot that could walk the stairs. And in her eyes, I could see that that was just the very beginning of what she is going to do. I had a chance to meet some enterprise developers in Germany working in an industrial equipment manufacturer. And they were fundamentally changing, transforming their business to becoming a software company, a SaaS company. And so I thought that it's perhaps appropriate to kick off Build by talking to one such developer. In fact, he's a musician who had a dream, and he calls himself an accidental developer, but who had a dream to change how music is composed. Please help me welcome David William Hearn. Hi, David.
Hi.
It's great seeing you.
Great to be here.
Thanks for coming up.
Pleasure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your dream, your journey so far?
Absolutely. So, music notation is probably something that a lot of you in this room haven't really thought about before, but it really is the written language of music. It's almost like a coding language of music, actually. In fact, it has some similarities with code. You can even write in C# or F#.
F# is probably better for that.
Maybe. Up until now, there's been two main ways that you can really write music. Traditionally, using pen and paper, which is very creative, maybe not that convenient sometimes, or the digital way, which is very laborious to input, but very convenient once it's in that form. So I really wanted to make something where you could take the creativity and the convenience and smash them together and create this brand new way of writing music.
Amazing. Do you want to show us what you built?
Absolutely. Let's have a look. So StaffPad is handwriting recognition for music notation. I've actually been working on a piece the last few weeks, a piece for string quartet and piano. And as you can see, I can use touch to interact with the score. You can see we've got a big score here. This is no nursery rhyme. And let's scroll to the end, and we've got a couple of bars left to do, so I figured we could finish it up on stage.
Oh, for sure. You're talking to a music illiterate, but go ahead.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I don't know how to run a big company. So. OK, let's just take the pen, and I'm going to start writing in the bar. It's very natural. The idea behind the app was that if you could write music, you should be able to, hey. If you can write music, you should be able to know how to use the app. You don't need to really learn too much. It's very intuitive. As I move into the next bar, the music notation is recognized and turned into typeset notation. Right, thank you. Yeah. I'm going to turn these off. Let's get rid of those. Fantastic. This is actually interactive notation now, so I can add staccato dots, and maybe I should slur some of these too. Do you think? Slur means play it like you're drunk.
Okay.
I'm going to get in so much trouble for that. Using touch, I can double tap the bar, select the bar, and just pull this out. And this is the great thing about Surface and Windows. It was really the only platform that we could do this for, because it really understands the difference between my fingers and the pen. And that's really key to making this intuitive and natural. I'm just going to take this last beat. We're going to erase that using the pen eraser. And I'm going to draw in a string run here. And pull that up. And you can see there we've got a nice fast string run up to the top. So let me just do one last thing. Double tap, copy this down.
That's cool.
Oh, no, we don't want that. OK, and now we can play this back. And there you go. We finished the piece.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
What's been the reaction? I know that this has been out for a few months, is it now?
No, just a few weeks.
A few weeks,
And the reaction has already been absolutely incredible, breathtaking, really. We've heard from people all over the world. We heard from an 11-year-old composer who's writing her second opera on the app, not her first, her second, and a 91-year-old who's fallen back in love with writing music again. It's really been, there's students using it in the classroom, and it's really just an incredible reaction. It's been breathtaking.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much.
That's what's most striking about today's developers and all of you, which is one person or a small group of people with a dream and a passion can have such huge impact by taking advantage of these platform technologies. Who would have thought that music composition can be changed with touch and ink? And that's what we live for as a platform company. We want to be able to take inspiration from the apps you build to drive platform innovation. So today's keynote is about 3 major platform transformations and shifts. We want to talk about, first, our cloud platform. We aspire to build an intelligent cloud backend for the world's applications running on all devices. We want to have the capability to manage infrastructure spanning data centers. So that means storage, compute, and the network. That's not just about a data center as a computer, but all of the data centers coming together in support of these intelligent applications. We want to have rich application services, in particular data services, such as machine learning, and democratize the access to those capabilities so that every developer on every platform can build intelligent apps. Second, we want to talk about Office as a platform. We want to move far beyond individual applications and their APIs to building a rich graph of data as a platform. We want you to be able to consume that graph, extend that graph, and we'll talk a lot about that. And lastly, we want to talk about Windows. Windows 10 represents a new generation of Windows built for an era of more personal computing, from Raspberry Pi to the holographic computer, where the mobility of the experience is what matters, not the mobility of the device. So to kick things off, let me have Scott Guthrie come up to stage and talk about our cloud platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Build. Satya just talked about our 3 core ambitions as a company. I'm now going to continue the conversation and talk about the work we're doing to build the intelligent cloud. This is a broad ambition that spans a wide range of cloud services at Microsoft, including Office 365 and Dynamics. Today, though, I'm going to talk about the work we're doing to power this ambition using Azure. Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing platform and enables you to move faster and do more. Azure is a hyperscale cloud platform, and over the last several years, we've built out Azure to run all over the world. The circles on this map indicate Azure regions, which are made up of clusters of data centers where you can run and deploy your code. Today, we have 19 unique Azure regions open for business. That's more locations and more countries than both AWS and the Google Cloud combined. And this enables you to run your applications closer to your customers and employees than ever before and compete in even more geographic markets. We continue to invest billions of dollars each year building out new infrastructure, and our cloud platform now manages more than 1 million servers. This enables you to build apps without having to worry about your cloud platform's capacity and enables you to scale your solutions to any size. Azure offers the choice and flexibility of a full spectrum cloud. It enables you to build apps that scale from personal projects up to global scale applications. You can start from scratch for new greenfield apps, or you can easily leverage your existing investments and skills. It's open, it's It supports the ability to target multiple devices, use multiple operating systems, programming languages, frameworks, data services, and tools. We allow you to put all of your app in Azure or support hybrid deployments that span on-premises or other clouds. You can choose to use Azure just for infrastructure and just use it for base compute, storage, and networking. But you can also take advantage of a coherent set of highly engineered services to build your apps even faster. And our cloud platform and tools combination together deliver unmatched productivity and enable you to move faster and be even more successful. It's been a busy 12 months for the Azure team since our last Build conference a year ago. We delivered more than 500 new Azure services and features in that time and have greatly expanded the footprint and capabilities of what Azure delivers. And what we're seeing is, as we're kind of expanded our feature set, as we've expanded our footprint around the world, we're seeing the usage of Azure continue to rapidly grow. We have more than 90,000 new Azure customer subscriptions now being created every month. And those customers are creating some really amazing applications. More than 1.4 million SQL databases are now being used by applications hosted inside Azure. We have more than 50 trillion objects now stored in the Azure storage system, 425 million users in our Azure Active Directory system, 3 million developers registered with our Visual Studio Online services, which are our online suite of developer SaaS offerings. And we're seeing the growth and traction of Azure happen not just in the enterprise and business user space, but more than 40% of our Azure revenue and usage now comes actually from startups and from ISVs. Behind these large momentum numbers are some truly amazing customer stories. This slide contains some of the logos of just a few of the companies doing great things in Azure. And throughout today's keynote, you're going to hear me talk more about some of their specific stories and some of the reasons why they're using Azure. Now, one of the things we know is that a cloud platform must offer the flexibility of choice. Azure enables you to use the best of the Windows ecosystem and the best of the Linux ecosystem together. Azure enables you to easily reuse the skills you already have, regardless of the programming languages you use. And we allow you to take advantage of both core infrastructure capabilities and higher level platform services. And Microsoft's unique in that it's the only hyperscale cloud provider that architects those higher level services and programming model capabilities to run in multiple environments, including both on-premises data centers that you already have, as well as other clouds besides our own. Now, from the beginning with Azure, we've embraced open source in a very deep way. And over this past year, in particular, we've taken a number of significant steps to use open source even more broadly. Last year, we announced our plans to deeply embrace Docker and the Docker ecosystem with both Azure and Windows Server and make containers a fundamental part of our application platform. We've also open sourced our core .NET runtime technology and announced our plans to support it on multiple platforms, as well as obviously make it first class when running within containers. And this combination is really powerful and enables even more developer flexibility and choice. What I'd like to do to kick things off is actually invite Ben Golub and Mark Ruzinovich on stage here to talk about this work and show off a pretty cool demo of them in action. So here's Ben.
Way you go.
Scott, thanks. Thank you, Scott. So for those of you who are not aware, Docker has just celebrated its second birthday. And so frankly, we're used to thinking of Docker kind of like a human 2-year-old. You know, it occasionally stumbles, occasionally spits up, and keeps those of us who are closest to it up at night. And so it's sort of surprising to be up here on stage at Build. In fact, I'd like to talk about the 5 big surprises that we've had in working with Microsoft that all in many ways relate to this notion of how we can take openness and portability and flexibility and use it to empower developers. Now, if you're not familiar with Docker, it was started 2 years ago by Solomon Hykes, who felt that developers fundamentally are spending far too much of their time doing rework, worrying about dependencies, worrying about servers, instead of just building awesome apps. And the initial innovation was, let's make it possible to take any application and its dependencies, package them up in the digital equivalent of a shipping container, and enable any application that's Dockerized to interact well with any other Dockerized application and run on any server. Now, last October, when we went up to meet with Microsoft, we were pretty proud of the fact that we'd gotten that working for Linux. So you could take any Linux application, Dockerize it, and run it on any Linux server. And quite frankly, we thought we'd leave Redmond with an agreement to make Docker for Linux run well on Hyper-V or run well in Azure. But then we had the first of those big 5 surprises. And the first big surprise was that we were not only going to work on Docker for Linux, we were going to work on Docker for Windows. And so we're going to enable the 4 million Docker Linux developers to join all of the millions of Windows developers and make it possible using standard Docker, using open source, to take any Windows application, Dockerize it, and run it on any server. Second great surprise that we had was this was not only about code, it was also about content and collaboration. Now, if you're familiar with Docker, you know we have a service called Docker Hub that has about 120,000 Dockerized apps. Microsoft has not only integrated Docker Hub into all of its developer platforms, but is contributing actively to Docker Hub, not just Dockerized Windows components, but all of these great new open source .NET and .NET for Linux components delivered again as Docker containers through the hub. Third great surprise that we had was that Microsoft embraced the notion of what you need to do to make multi-container apps work. And they embraced the notion that if you want to make multi-container apps truly portable, you have to be open about how you do orchestration as well. And so we're so thrilled that Microsoft has embraced Docker's open orchestration initiatives, Compose, Machine, and Swarm. Fourth great surprise, and yes, there's more. You combine those three things, you're not only going to be able to make great multi-container Windows applications or great multi-container Windows applications, you'll be able to mix and match Windows containers and Linux containers, which means you'll be able to use a Linux backend and a Windows front end or vice versa. Basically choose the best damn tools for the best damn application that you want to build and run it on any server. And the fifth and perhaps greatest surprise that we've had in working with Microsoft is that this has happened quickly. And everything that I've spoken about is either live or working well in the lab right now. And so without further ado, I'd like to bring Mark Russinovich, CTO of Azure, on board to show you what happens when you combine these great platforms together and, again, empower developers. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
And Mark, I love the shirt.
Thank you. It's a great shirt. Morning, everybody. All right, so what I've got right in front of you here is an ASP.NET 5 application, Fabricam. It's an e-commerce site. It's kind of a standard site, and I'm going to be doing some dev test on it. The first thing I'd like to do is to deploy it to a Docker container running in a Windows Server machine. On this dev test box, I've got a virtual machine running Windows Server with Docker support, Docker container support. And I'm going to take a look at the containers that I've already got running in that virtual machine by executing the docker ps command, which lists the active containers. You can see that I've got two containers active. One is a Minecraft server, and the other one is a Node.js application, which shows that Docker containers on Windows support many different runtimes and languages that you might be using. Now, what I'm going to do is package up the Fabricam application so that I can also deploy it into a container, and I'm going to use several Docker commands here, one called docker build, which will package it up. I'm going to tag the image that's produced with the name Fabricam, so it's easy to remember, and then go ahead and package that. And this is going to be executing a series of steps which take that ASP.NET 5 application, package it up in a Dockerized image, and the next step is to run that container with that image. So I'll type docker run -it to make it interactive, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. And, oh, I forgot the Docker command, docker run and Fabricam. Now, the reason that I've had it be interactive is so that we can print out the IP address so I can see the IP address of the website that's going to launch that Fabricam application. If I go back and do a docker ps at this point, you'll see that that Fabricam image has been launched into a container here. Now, one of the really fun parts about using the Docker client is that if you don't specify a name for your container, it comes up with a random one. So let's go see what names it's come up with. It called this one Tender Ilion. Oh, and look at that. Wow, that's, what are the odds of that coming up like that? So let's go take a look at that website now, which is going to be active. I'll launch IE. The IP address is 1050.0.122, and we're hitting 10.50.1002, and there we go. .NET running in a Windows Server container executed with Docker. But I'm showing you a lot of technologies here some of you might not be familiar with. So just a quick raise of hands. How many people have heard of Linux? Okay, for those people that are watching online, about a third of the audience raised their hands. I'm just kidding. Everybody raised their hands, of course. But what I'm going to show you is Scott mentioned that we've got .NET support on Linux, and we've integrated it with Docker containers as well. So here I've got the same exact application, and this time I'm going to SSH into a Linux virtual machine and run the Docker PS command. You can see I've got no containers running in that virtual machine. Instead of using Docker run to deploy it, I'm going to deploy it right from Visual Studio using the publish command. Right here, I've configured it to launch to that Docker host. Here's the IP address of that host. When I type publish, press publish here, it's going to package it up and execute the same Docker client commands to deploy that FabricCam application onto Linux. If I go back and type Docker PS again, you'll see there's FabricCam latest, and there's the name Prickly Wozniak. So always fun to look at the names of the Docker containers it creates. Let's go see if that website's come up. And sure enough, there it is. And you can see that that's the same IP address as the SSH command, so I'm looking at the Docker container running on that virtual machine. But now there's more. I'm doing dev test of this FabricCam application, and I'd like to continue to use Visual Studio to do that, and I can now with integration of container debugging into Visual Studio. So I'm going to go to Server Explorer, go to Virtual Machines, there's the Docker VM, and there's the Prickly Wozniak container. I attach the debugger, and just as a normal Visual Studio debugging experience, I've got the libraries loaded here, and you can see, sure enough, there's the core CLR for Linux underneath this application that I've just attached to. And now I want to set a breakpoint here on the function that I'm debugging. I go back to the website, hit refresh, and I'm at the breakpoint. Debugging .NET in Linux deployed into a Docker container. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Mark. So we've been developing the cross-platform version of the .NET Core runtime in the open on GitHub the last several months. And I'm excited today to announce that we're also releasing now a preview edition of the runtime in precompiled binary format that you can download and start using for Windows, for Linux, as well as for Mac. Now, it's an incredibly exciting time in the world today. Disruption is changing the economy in a fundamental way, not just in technology, but in traditional service industries as well. You know, who would have predicted that both the taxi and the hospitality business would have been turned upside down 5 years ago? Yet innovative companies like Uber and Airbnb are doing just that. Every organization is looking for ways to engage customers better, empower their employees more, and ultimately transform the value they deliver. And developers and the applications and solutions they build play an absolutely integral role in enabling this. In fact, it's increasingly digital apps and technology that enable businesses to delight their customers and differentiate from one another. And it's never been a better time, I think, right now than to be a developer. Now, Azure enables you to embrace this transformation and make you and your teams even more successful. With Azure, we deliver a rich set of higher-level services that provide fully engineered solutions that enable you to move faster and achieve more. And the combination of our cloud platform and tools really delivers unparalleled developer productivity as you do this. You know, 3M is a customer who I think provides an excellent example of what Azure productivity can really deliver. 3M is one of the largest companies in the world. They have 88,000 employees and literally deliver tens of thousands of products. And 3M is using Azure to build the backends for many of these products now. And they love the agility that Azure provides them to move quickly and deliver even more value. And one of the initial projects they hosted on Azure was an internal mobile app that they wanted to provide to their sales force to sell a new offering that they just actually come out with. And a small development team that actually never used Azure before signed up on a Friday and basically spent the weekend building the app, and had, by the end of the weekend, had a fully production-ready version deployed on Azure, ready to roll out to their sales force on Monday. And this ability to quickly create robust enterprise-ready applications with super fast development cycles has really provided 3M with incredible business agility and helps them move even faster as an overall organization. Now, one of the great productivity solutions Azure delivers is our Azure App Service. This is a really powerful offering that we released just last month and provides a suite of capabilities that enable you to quickly build and scale both web and mobile applications anywhere in the world. Now, App Service allows you to write back-end code logic using .NET, Java, Node.js, PHP, and Python. You can easily enable continuous integration workflows to it from online source repositories like Visual Studio Online, GitHub, and Bitbucket. And that enables it so that every time a developer checks in code into one of those services, Azure can automatically build it, test it, deploy it to a private production slot, and if everything's looking good, then basically turn it on to production and do full monitoring and analytics on top of it. Using Azure's built-in auto-scale capability, you can set up rules so that once you deploy the application, your application can automatically scale up based on incoming traffic. In fact, if you get a massive influx of traffic, you can basically spin up a huge number of instances and handle basically any amount of load. And when your traffic drops, Azure can basically automatically shut down those resources to help you save money and pay only for what you actually need. A couple of cool features we've added recently to the Azure App Service is enterprise connectivity. And this allows you the ability to set up a virtual private network that allows you to connect back to an on-premise enterprise network and access apps and data that you wish to make available in the cloud. This makes it really easy to integrate with existing enterprise solutions you already have. And Azure App Service also now provides support for easily integrating data and functionality from popular SaaS solutions like Office 365, Dynamics, and Salesforce. And you can use the Logic Apps functionality within App Service to create long-running workflows to automate business processes. What I'd like to do is invite Scott Hanselman here on stage to show off our Azure App Service and what you can build with it.
Hi, friends. You know, we're really excited about the maker movement and things like Raspberry Pis and 3D printers. You really should pick up one of these. These are great. And one of the applications that we brought here, the Fabricam application, is a maker space, and they sell things like PrinterBot 3D printers and Netduino Wi-Fis and things like that. But they also offer a service where I can go and upload a 3D print. I've got a 3D object here in 3D Builder that you can go and get up on the Windows Store. So I'm going to upload him into this application that is running in Azure App Service. When we bring him up and then hit upload, this modern application, there we go, you've actually got a little JavaScript 3JS there showing me the model. It's going to tell me where I can pick it up and when, and this is now going to go through a process. It's talking to a back-end order service, the one that we saw. And let's switch over into Visual Studio and see how we built that. Now, this is that ASP.NET 5 application using the .NET Core CLR and using modern techniques that is talking to the back end. This order details back end is running within the context of Azure, and we're using HTML5, CSS3, all the kinds of modern things that you'd expect, and we're actually bringing in Bower and NPM inside of Visual Studio. And because I'm a web developer, I want to use my web development skills to make other applications. So we also have the back end for the administrator. So when someone at the store gets that 3D print, we can click on the order. They've got access to that print. So they're using this application on a surface to talk to the same order API that the website does. We've got built into Visual Studio the tools for Apache Cordova that are also using HTML and JavaScript, and we're reusing some of that JavaScript as well. And I can go and generate mobile applications. I could certainly use C++ or tools like Xamarin. In this case, tools for Apache Cordova have allowed me to create a mobile app so I can go and make purchases from this store and also check on my order. You maybe have seen the Windows emulator that runs on Hyper-V that comes with Visual Studio, but you may not be familiar with the Android emulator. This is an Android emulator that comes with Visual Studio. You have this, and I can go and check on my order from that Android emulator running under Hyper-V at full speed, all part of the Apache Cordova tools that are built in here. It also includes debugging and a really amazing experience for people making mobile applications on any platform. Let's switch over to Visual Studio Online and see how we're managing this code. Now, in this case, our team is working on a Git repository that's running in Visual Studio Online. You can see John Galloway is making some changes here. But not only are we doing source control within VSO, but we're also managing our backlog. So we can keep track of what's working and what's not working in this Kanban board. We've got full support for work items. But more interestingly to me is that workflow that the team is going through. We've got the build running in Visual Studio Online as well. So this ASP.NET 5 .NET Core CLR application is building in VSO and then deploying out to the applications in Azure App Service automatically. Now, if I switch over to Azure, I can see that application in the API host here. And when I've moved that into production, we can click within Azure itself and see the deployments here as well. So I can see a deployment that John put out on Sunday, click on that, and that integration with Visual Studio Online, I can see his commits, whether that build succeeded. So I check into Git, Visual Studio Online, runs the build, runs the tests, makes sure that everything is okay, sends it out into Azure. Once it's in Azure in production, I can also scale it. I can automatically scale it. Coming here on Scale By, I can set the number of instances and a target range of the CPU. So if the CPU goes above a certain amount, the application will scale. So I've got the full life cycle from Visual Studio all up through production. And now this application in production scaling, I'm going to want to get insights into what's going on. Now you would expect to have great web insights. We've got application insights showing us all sorts of details. We have dependency tracking all the way down to a single line of code. So from Visual Studio and Azure, you've got the best DevOps that allow teams to create both web and mobile apps. But with our recent integration of Hockey App, I've got the same deep insights for mobile applications. So inside, integrated into Azure, you can see here the mobile app, crashes, events, sessions by country. I can go all the way down to a single line of code. And here's actually the iOS version of this application. And I can go and see specifically what worked and what didn't, down to an exact line, in this case, of Swift code. So it's a 360-degree view of any platform, from the highest level all the way down to the lowest level, to a single line of code. So this is a lot to take in. Let's step back for a second and get an understanding about how this fits in. We've got web apps, we've got mobile applications. Those are talking to APIs in the back end. When I submitted my order, it went to this order API written in ASP.NET 5 and the Core CLR. Those API apps can be written by me, or they can be written by a third party or brought in from our marketplace. But a really interesting thing is this concept of logic applications, because there's business processes like when that order gets completed, I want to get notified as a customer about that. So let's take a look at what a logic application looks like. So let me switch over. Here we go. So this is an application here where we've got individual API apps. The SQL connector is going to be looking at the data for the orders, and then it flows through this workflow from one API app to another using a technology called Swagger, where that metadata is going through the system into Salesforce. And then in this case, we're posting a message to Slack. I can bring in that order API that we created in ASP.NET and then get the details for that order. You see that that actually got populated using that Swagger details. And then it knows about previous things within this workflow. This is a reliable, durable workflow in the cloud. And now I can click on Twilio and bring in the Twilio connector and then send a message to let me know when this order is completed. So here I can access any aspects of what is flowing through the system. In this case, I'll look at the phone number, and we will have the from number, the to number, and then under text here, we're going to have hi, person, Salesforce, first name, your order is ready. This is the kind of common business process that you don't necessarily want to write in code because it changes a lot. And this is all happening in the cloud in this business orchestration service called Logic Apps. And you can integrate this with any existing application running on any language, not just .NET, Node, Python, anything that can create a Swagger application can do this. Now, I think this is pretty amazing, but I feel like perhaps I haven't sufficiently blown your mind. And I promised a number of people that I would do that. So let's take a moment and then switch over to our Macintosh here. Now on this Mac, you can see that I can load up Visual Studio Online, I can manage my code, and write my cross-platform .NET applications. And I can do that using any one of the many editors that one would use in a Mac, like Emacs, Sublime, and things like that. But inevitably, I find myself going into Spotlight on a Mac and just wishing that there was a member of the Visual Studio family that I could somehow run. And now there is. I'm really, really happy to announce that Visual Studio Code, this is a code-optimized development tool that runs natively on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It supports dozens of languages out of the box. It's a great application for all kinds of things that you're going to do that are code-focused. But it's not just a simple editor. It has deep insights into what's going on. This is the same Fabricam order details application. Here is a code peek. I can see the references. I'll go into order details. From here, I can hover over individual objects, get information about them, and help. And I get real IntelliSense, not just autocomplete. In this case, powered by the open source tools of Roslyn and OmniSharp. So this is pretty freaking amazing. I can also do things like this. We'll bring in a little refactoring here, make a change, save this, and I've got Git and diffs, and I can push it to Visual Studio Online, where it will then run through the process, be built, tested, deployed, and scaled to Azure, which is pretty fantastic. Visual Studio Code, but this is still not really blowing my mind. I feel I could do even better. So why don't we take a moment and switch over to Ubuntu. So now I'm in my application. In this case, I'm using a Mono application, and big thanks to the folks at Mono who helped us with Mono 4.01 that this demo is running on. I can now click on Debug, launch an interactive debugging session. So now I'm on Ubuntu in a .NET app doing a debug session. I've got local variables, I've got a call stack, I've got breakpoints, all in this great lightweight code editor, Visual Studio Code. This, I think, makes the point that Visual Studio is now a family of tools for every developer, and Azure is the cloud backend for everyone. And I just got a text message on my band that my 3D print is being delivered. Oh, how nice.
There you go.
Thank you. And now that's great. Now my Scott Goo action figure has a friend. So, woo-hoo-hoo. Thank you, sir.
Well, thanks, Scott. That was kind of a great example of the type of end-to-end productivity that the combination of Azure and our Visual Studio family now provides. You can see, as Scott mentioned, really a 360-degree view from coding to deployment to testing to source control management to running and scaling your application. It does it all. You also from the chairs saw our newest addition to the Visual Studio family, which is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a code-optimized editing environment. It's small, fast, and provides both code IntelliSense and debugging support. And as you saw, it has full integration for Git. And one of the things it can be used on Windows, on Mac, as well as Linux development machines. And I'm really excited to announce that we're going to be making it available for free. And even better, we're pleased to announce that later today, the first download of it will be made available on all those platforms for you to start using. Now, our mission with Visual Studio is to provide best-in-class tools for every developer. And we now have tools for developers who like lightweight code-optimized editors, as well as for those looking for a full development enterprise IDE. And with Visual Studio Online, as Scott showed, we now provide a full suite of developer services that run in the cloud that deliver a full application lifecycle management experience, including source control, bug and work item tracking, continuous integration builds, load testing, performance, crash analytics, and a whole bunch more. What's great is you can take advantage of all these services directly from any of our Visual Studio development tools, or you can also use them from any other development tool as well. This really enables you to build amazing applications in this mobile-first, cloud-first world. And we're really excited to talk more about this in the breakout talks and all the great features that are coming in Visual Studio this year. Now, Mark Andreessen wrote a famous article a few years ago where he talked about how software is eating the world and about how companies will increasingly deliver their value through online services. Today, more than 90% of all technology companies are now delivering or building online SaaS services to deliver more value and better connect with their customers. And many of our biggest customers using Azure today are using it to build and deliver SaaS services to their customers. This includes both born-in-the-cloud companies as well as enterprises that are reinventing themselves by becoming technology firms. AccuWeather is a great example of one of those companies. They're one of the largest weather forecasting services in the world. They were originally actually an AWS customer and then switched to Azure to power their weather service. They process more than 6 billion data requests each day through their APIs for temperature and weather forecasts. And they use Azure for weather prediction as well as to power all of their iOS, Android, and Windows apps. DocuSign is another great example. They provide an electronic signature signing SaaS service. They've been growing at 300% year over year for 7 years now, and they now service more than 120,000 enterprise customers. And they're a fantastic example of a successful startup, and their valuation is now worth billions. GE Healthcare is working to provide their customers, who are doctors and hospitals, easier ways to collect, analyze, and report healthcare data. And they've deployed multiple SaaS applications on Azure while meeting the most stringent regulatory environments. This week at Build, we're going to talk about a number of new technologies that we're delivering that enable you to build great high-scale SaaS services like these. One of the technologies we're going to talk about is something we call Azure Service Fabric. Now, Service Fabric is a high-control distributed computing framework. We created it to power our own high-scale cloud services, and we've battle-hardened it over the last several years under extreme loads and super demanding requirements. It supports the ability to create cloud services composed of both stateless and stateful microservices. And it has support for hyperscale-out deployments, self-healing and quorum management, as well as the orchestration of code updates. And we're going to release the Service Fabric SDK to make it available on both Windows as well as Linux systems. The first download of that will be available this week. And in addition to supporting Azure, you'll also be able to use it to build great solutions that run in a multi-cloud environment. We have a great set of talks later today that'll go into more detail on it. Now, when you think about building great SaaS applications, one of the things that's sort of fundamental to building those is to be able to do great data management. And Azure supports a wide variety of data storage and management solutions. You can use pretty much every commercial or open source data management offering on Azure. And Microsoft also optimizes and delivers both relational and NoSQL data solutions as highly available managed services that you can basically deploy and use. Our SQL database offering is one of our most popular offerings. It's a cloud-native database as a service. It's highly available, durable, and fault-tolerant, and enables you to store and manage data without having to worry about infrastructure, patching, software updates, or backups. That's all built in as part of the service. You can provision a SQL database in just seconds and run it literally anywhere around the world. And you can set up a SQL database to actively geo-replicate transactions across multiple Azure regions while you're doing that, enabling automatic failover support within your applications, as well as geographic scale-out. And we've added some great new features to SQL databases over the last few months, like elastic scale support, which enables you to shard and scale out SQL databases to be petabytes in size, and in-memory column support, which gives you up to 100x performance improvements for many core data scenarios. And because, again, SQL database is offered as a managed service, as opposed to just a database inside a VM, developers are able to host, scale, and use databases in a true cloud-native way. In fact, up to 160,000 SQL databases are now created or dropped every single day using Azure for a wide variety of different scenarios. What I thought I'd do is actually just talk about and show a nice video of one of the customers that's using SQL Database. They actually have over 10,000 SQL databases running on Azure today. And this is Esri, who's the leading provider of geographic information services software. And so what I'd like to do is roll the video and talk about how they're taking advantage of it.
My name is Art Haddad. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Location Analytics at Esri. Esri has been a Microsoft Azure partner from the very beginning days, and we've built a true SaaS offering in ArcGIS Online using Microsoft Azure. Esri uses Azure SQL databases to geo-enable business data of our users with mapping and analytic capabilities. There are major events out there that take advantage of this to accommodate public safety or whatever it may be. But there's also mission-critical scenarios like a government that needs to disseminate public data in response to a natural disaster. People want to know where the latest evacuation site is, or better yet, where to get fresh water and food. But when they make these maps and data available over the web, sometimes it goes viral. And when that happens, we have to be able to scale on a moment's notice, and ArcGIS is that platform from which we can do that. Working on things that actually make a difference in people's lives, that means something.
I'm excited to announce today a number of great new enhancements to our SQL database service that you can start using immediately. These include TDE support, which provides the ability for you to ensure and control encryption at rest policies within your databases. Full text search support, which enables you to run text queries against your data. And a new capability I'm particularly excited about called Elastic Database Pool, which enables you to better manage lots of databases at even lower cost and is perfect for SaaS solutions. Now, one of the common challenges for developers that are building SaaS-based applications that serve lots of B2B customers is architecting for the right data model. One approach is to use a shared database where you have lots of customers sharing the same tables of data. This is good from a resource cost perspective, but it introduces high operational complexity into your application. Now, another approach that many SaaS apps use is to maintain a separate database per B2B customer. This provides great data isolation, and ensures that no two companies' data is ever stored in the same database. But in the past, it's typically been more expensive since each database uses a separate set of resources. Today, we're really excited to introduce our new Elastic Database Pool support, which gives you the best of both worlds. Elastic Database Pool enables you to maintain completely isolated databases for each of your B2B customers, but then allows you to aggregate all of the resources necessary to run those resources or databases into a common resource pool. And this allows you to smooth out the peaks and dips of different databases within your SaaS app and allows you to end up using far fewer resources to run your application. And the end result is that it saves you lots of money while also improving the overall operational complexity of running your SaaS solution. What I'd like to do is invite Laura on stage to show this off in action.
Thank you. Hi. We're going to walk through some great new updates with Azure SQL Database, and SaaS developers are going to love this stuff. As Scott just talked about, you can let Azure dynamically manage your database resources using an Elastic Database Pool. And the best part is, this could also save you money. When you first create a pool, one of the decisions you need to make is, what databases should you even put in the pool? We've removed a lot of this guesswork. We're using machine learning behind the scenes to produce a list of recommended databases to go into a pool. We're going to take that list of databases and we'll just add them. We want these databases to dynamically use a pool of resources. So we have these visualizations that help us properly size what that pool should look like based on the databases that we've selected. But what's also very important is that you can specify the minimum and maximum performance characteristics of all of your databases. And basically what this means is any database can have a spike in performance, but they're not going to end up being a noisy neighbor to any of the other databases in the pool. Now you don't have to worry about what size you're going to give your database. It's S0, S3, S1. Just let Azure dynamically figure that out for you. You're going to have the best cost for your company, and you get the best application performance for your customers. Let's go through some developer stuff. We have this report, and this is a report for the Fabricam company, and it allows franchise owners to see how their stores are performing. The really cool thing about this report is that it's aggregating live data from all of the databases in our pool. We had 30 databases, and it's using a single connection string and a single query. In a few weeks, we're going to deliver, in preview, Elastic Database Query. And creating a report with a single connection string against a group of databases will be as simple as a select star. And finally, how do you manage updates and changes when you're in the SaaS world? You have tens, hundreds, thousands of databases. How do you make updates to all of those databases? For example, with our world, we may want to restrict the rows of data so that each franchise owner only sees the data for the stores that they own. Well, Azure SQL Database delivered row-level security some time ago. We want to implement that, but that's going to require a change to all of our databases. To make any database change, any schema change, maybe you want to do a maintenance update, we'll use the new Elastic Database job. We'll take our standard T-SQL that we know and love, and we're going to just submit this, click correctly, submit this as a job to our pool. We'll call this RLS for row-level security. So once I click run, my work is done. I let Azure do all the rest of the work. I don't have to write my custom script that loops through all the databases. I don't have to manage retry logic. I don't have to think about how I'm going to scale this to tens and hundreds and thousands of databases. Azure takes care of all of that for me. I can use this for maintenance jobs like rebuilding indexes. I can use this for other standard statistics updates or just one-time updates, any kind of update like that. And after this completes running, we can see it's already almost complete against all of our databases. And if we just give it a second and we refresh our report, hopefully Martina only sees the rows of data for the stores that she owns. So now you've got these fantastic new tools that will help really build robust SaaS applications using Azure SQL Database. Thank you.
So as you can see, we're adding lots of great enhancements to our overall data story in terms of enabling you to store, operationalize data, whether it's in a single database or across thousands of them. I want to switch gears now and talk also now about how you can use analytics on top of that data. We're in a unique world right now in terms of the expectations people have around intelligent apps. And companies that embrace analytics will be much more competitive in this disrupted economy than those who don't. Your data combined with analytics enables you to answer business-critical questions and build much better apps. Questions like, what other products would a customer who's already purchased something from you want? What's the likelihood of a customer of yours churning? What are the warning signs you should watch out for before they do so? What is the price elasticity of your products and services? How do you optimize for that? Do you have sufficient product availability for the upcoming holiday or for a special promotion? Being able to answer these questions accurately and use that insight to improve your applications can transform your business. Now, in the past, answering questions like this was painful. Data warehouses took months to set up, and integrating analytic systems was hard. With Azure, we now provide a suite of highly engineered analytics services that make answering these types of questions easy. And enables you to basically maximize the value of each byte of data that your application stores and processes. Each of these services on the slide can be provisioned in minutes, and composed together, they provide complete, full solutions. And today, I'm excited to announce 2 new Azure services that we're launching that complement this existing offering even further. and make it even easier to unlock insights from data. Our new SQL database service makes it easy for anyone to set up a data warehouse to aggregate and store data in just minutes. You can elastically scale the SQL Data Warehouse service to store petabytes of data and independently scale compute to match whatever resources you need to process it. Our data warehouse offering makes it easy to interactively query and visualize all of the data stored within it, as well as operationalize machine learning on top of it. And I'd like to do is show a quick video of it in action.
Imagine, how could you make your business more intelligent using data? Where do the digital customers using your services come from? How can you engage them better and improve customer churn? How would discounts affect your inventory and margins? Imagine if you could use data to analyze these questions and intelligently predict outcomes. But each question could take hours, maybe even days, requiring more servers than you have in any on-premise data center. But now, you can use Azure to add unlimited compute power to your questions. Introducing SQL Data Warehouse. The new SQL Data Warehouse service is easy to create and can be launched in minutes. It's the industry's first cloud data warehouse that can grow or shrink to any size in seconds, and which you can use to intelligently answer any question using data. You can easily import data from any data source with automated data pipelines from Hadoop, NoSQL, and SQL databases, IoT, as well as on-premise applications and systems. Then you can easily create reports against it, as well as visualize it. Simply connect Microsoft Power BI to a SQL data warehouse in just seconds. It also unlocks the ability to easily use predictive analytics. Azure Machine Learning can now use petabyte-scale data with applications written in R and Python to analyze customer product recommendations or assess customer churn risk. You can expose machine learning APIs that your apps can call to more intelligently interact with your customers. A data warehouse that can scale up in seconds enables Power BI and Azure Machine Learning to tap into unlimited query power. So you can visualize and explore unlimited scenarios. The power to use data to build intelligent apps has never been greater.
Using our new SQL Data Warehouse service, you can easily stand up and aggregate data from any source. You can archive data from your operational SQL or NoSQL databases. You can also then aggregate that data from on-premises data like an SAP system or a Dynamics system. You can also easily aggregate data from a Hadoop cluster and be able to import any type of data from that. Now, once your data is in the data warehouse, you can then easily visualize and interact with it using our new Power BI service. This provides a rich way that you can visualize your data and ask questions of it. You can also run reports against it, as well as stand up and use machine learning to create predictive models on top of that data. Now, one of the things that makes our machine learning service so powerful is that once you create a predictive model with it, you can then expose it as an API that your apps can now call and use. And this basically means the more data you get, the smarter your apps get, and creates a virtuous cycle that really allows you to build some truly amazing systems. Now, there are other data warehouse offerings in the market today, and AWS has seen a good uplift with its Redshift offering. I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time talking about how now Azure is even better. Unlike Redshift, you can independently adjust the amount of compute and storage that you use with a SQL data warehouse. This allows you to reduce costs and pay only for what you actually need. You can automatically scale up your data warehouse in seconds. This is a big difference versus Redshift, where typically it takes hours or even days to rescale your data warehouse, and your data warehouse goes into a read-only mode with perf degradation. This allows you to basically increase and decrease pretty much at will. Redshift doesn't have the ability to pause a cluster, Unlike SQL Data Warehouse, where you can pause when you no longer need your data warehouse and pay only for storage. This allows you to reduce costs and pay only for what you actually need. A great example of that might be when the end of the month or end of the quarter, you need a data warehouse. When you no longer need it, just turn it off and you're not having to pay for anything. Our SQL Data Warehouse runs not just in Azure, but can also be deployed and run in an on-premises environment, unlike others. And from a compatibility and feature set perspective, SQL Data Warehouse provides a full SQL experience and allows you to build super powerful applications with ease. So we're really excited about what SQL Data Warehouse delivers. We think this is really a perfect opportunity for you to build and analyze data in a really rich way, and it's going to allow every developer to get more insights from the data they have. Now, one of the most exciting opportunities, I think, for every business out there is to use the Internet of Things to transform how they build products and how they engage with customers. And we have some fascinating use cases of IoT solutions built now on Azure. Ford is adding IoT sensors to all of their vehicles to improve the overall car owner experience. And they've built a IoT backend solution on Azure to collect and process all of this data. And then they're connecting it with the customer information that they already store within apps they own inside their own on-premises data centers and providing a full, complete solution. Rockwell Automation has partnered with one of the biggest energy super majors out there and is basically now running unmanned internet-connected gas dispensers. Each dispenser emits real-time management information, which they can basically then use machine learning on top of to detect anomalies and predict when proactive maintenance needs to be done on the machines. And my favorite example is probably the NFL. Most teams in the NFL now use the X's and O's Thundercloud platform to record, analyze, and share game and player data in near real time during the game. This Thundercloud solution runs on Azure, and in addition to providing real-time statistics and analysis on plays, it also records, encodes, and uploads video that can be used for post-game analysis. Let's walk through some of the canonical services that you can use in Azure to build these types of IoT backends. Using the Azure Event Hub service, which we released just last fall, you can now ingest and process tens of millions of IoT messages per second. You can use the Azure Stream Analytics service, which we made generally available this month, to perform near real-time analytics on top of these IoT messages. And you can operationalize it using a combination of Power BI to create rich data visualization dashboards of the stream data. And you can optionally now store the raw data, or more commonly a subset of that data, inside into these databases that we run inside Azure. And you can now store the raw data within our new data lake service that we're making available and announcing this week. Now, this new data lake service that we're announcing today is really a revolutionary way to store and process data. We've built the new data lake service using more than a decade of real-world learnings, managing exabytes of data for our own Microsoft services. And the data lake service enables you to store literally an infinite amount of data. You can create accounts that store exabytes of content with individual files that are up to a petabyte in size. And this infinite capacity allows you to keep data in its original form, whether it's IoT data, log files, or any other non-relational structure. You can then run high throughput, low latency analytic jobs to analyze and process this data at any scale. You don't have to worry about setting up or managing your own clusters to do this. Instead, you can focus on the task at hand that you want to get accomplished, and the service will automatically scale out for you and apply the appropriate resources to get it done. And the service provides built-in enterprise-grade security support, enabling you to securely lock down, control, and access to any data that you store within it. Now, one of the great things about the data lake service is that it exposes data using the standard Hadoop HDFS API. And this enables you to actually leverage any analytics software already out there that supports HDFS. This allows you, for example, to run standard Hadoop jobs and Hadoop workloads on top of anything stored inside the data lake. You can take advantage of and write R applications using our new Revolution R distribution and be able to now have those scale out and query against literally exabytes of content. You can also stand up and use VM-hosted Cloudera as well as Hortonworks clusters to access and run analytics stored inside the data lake as well. This gives you maximum flexibility and enables you to derive even more insight from the data that you ultimately store. So Azure now has, we think, the richest analytic capabilities of any cloud and enables you to build intelligent apps that are highly differentiated for your customers. And this morning I've talked about some of the types of applications you can do with that, that you can use to drive your business, disrupt businesses, or grow profits. This technology, though, can also be used to really change the world in non-business ways as well. And one of the things I'd like to do is invite on stage a customer of Azure who's doing just that, and that's Just Giving, who basically optimize philanthropic giving campaigns and help funnel money into good causes. And what I'd like to do is invite Mike Bagumby on stage to talk about what they do and how they're doing it with Azure.
Thank you, Scott. Great, good morning. This is what I'm going to talk to you about today. This is what we've built on the platform. We call it the Give Graph. It's a set of complex algorithms that will fundamentally change the way you and I interact with causes that we care about. It's going to change the way we give. But to give you some context, let me tell you a little bit about our company first. We're based in the UK, and we're the largest social giving platform. We enable people to raise money and do amazing things for the causes and for the charities that they care about. Some people decide to do the marathon. Obviously, recently, people were throwing buckets of cold water on top of their head, all in the name of charity. And we've been fortunate in having around 23 million people from over 160 countries in the world do this. And they've raised in excess of $3 billion for charity and for good causes. And this has taken us a lot closer to our goal, which is to ensure that every great cause gets the funding that it requires. Now, we live in a world where we have billions of people who have that natural desire to give. And if everyone did that, we would eradicate poverty. We would put cancer out of business. Now, our team had the task of trying to understand why that isn't happening, using analytics, using machine learning, and getting a real understanding as to how we think and how we make that decision to give. And our analytics has identified 3 key things that our product needed to use data for. The first is that it needed to change giving from being a transactional activity to something that's far more engaging. It also needed to be personal, and of course it needed to be social. After all, we've solved some of the biggest problems as the human species by connecting with each other and collaborating. But at the heart of all of this is that we needed to make giving personal, which for us means we need to understand what you specifically care about. Traditional ways of trying to address personalization, we would use things like lookalikes or collaborative filtering. But in this space, that doesn't work. What you care about is specific to you. If you care about cancer or beating cancer, I can't find somebody who looks like you and say that they also care about cancer. Everybody has something specific that they care about. However, using machine learning and graph theory on this platform, we've managed to crack that problem. In fact, what we've done is we've built a machine that does 3 specific things. First of all, it understands how you specifically want to give. See, giving isn't just about money. It understands whether you want to give time or whether you want to give effort. Secondly, the algorithm can work out specifically what you care about. And it also understands that what you care about changes. It's a moving data piece. It's not static. It changes as your circumstances change, as your associations change, and the more interactive you become. And lastly, my most favorite part of the algorithm is that it understands how to interact with you, specifically with you, to make giving more engaging and remove those barriers that might exist to stop you from giving. Now, we couldn't have done this without the Azure platform. We're a small team of scientists and engineers, and what the Azure platform really allowed us to do was focus intensely on our goal. We don't have a team of operations experts who can manage a huge cluster of cloud machines in the cloud. But this platform was ideal for us. And these are the components that we used, and this is how we architected them. We essentially had 3 core processes. We had a batch process, which runs nightly, a real-time process, and a process that allowed us to put our APIs in front of the product. And the batch process is the backbone for everything that we do. And at the center of it is HD Insight. This is where we do all of our large calculations. This is where we build the Give Graph that I showed you earlier. So essentially, we take all of our data, we upload it into blob storage, then we spin up the clusters and do all of our calculations. And once that's done, the clusters are put down and the data is moved onto Azure table storage. And at the same time, we have a real-time service that helps us keep this product interactive. It helps providing data to the machine so that it can learn and it can continue to become more effective. We use F# mailboxes and Azure Service Bus for that. And of course, we have Azure websites or the Azure web app, which is where we put our APIs and where the product has access to it. And all of this manifests itself on the product itself. This is what our feed looks like. This is what that platform is powering. And what's exciting is that this is where we are seeing giving move from a transactional activity to a more engaging one. We're seeing people be far more interactive and far more social, connecting, collaborating about the causes that they care about, the charities that are important to them. And as I conclude, I can't emphasize enough how much of an impact this is going to have. And we're really in a fantastic position because this platform has allowed us to focus exclusively on our goal to ensure that every great cause gets the funding that it requires. Thank you.
Thanks much.
Cheers.
The opportunity to build applications that can change the world has never been greater. Each of you now has access to cloud resources that were unimaginable just a few years ago. There's never been a better time to be a developer, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you build. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move to the next chapter of our platform innovation, Office. There are three core concepts in the transformation of Office to a platform. The first one is about the user experience. We're opening up the Office user experience for all of your applications in fundamental ways, so that your applications can show up in the context of what 1 billion+ users of Office do in Office. Create stuff, get stuff done, collaborate, communicate. We want you to be able to build applications that fit naturally into those contexts. Second, we want to go beyond single applications, their APIs and data silos, to a semantically rich graph of data that is available for you to be able to consume as well as extend. And third, we want to have the capability to reason over that rich graph and add intelligence into your applications, so that not only does it drive new features, but more importantly, drives engagement in your applications. So those are the three concepts that fundamentally change Office. So we wanted to give you a quick tour of that so that you can look at what your applications can do to exploit these capabilities. And for that, I just wanted to introduce Rob Lefferts from our Office team to show you some of this. Hi, Rob.
Hi.
So how about we get started by talking about how we're moving from Office from us to Office with partners.
That's great. Let's dive right in. What we're looking at here is Word. This is Office 16, Win32. And what we see is a solution from DocuSign. Scott was talking about them earlier. They do digital signatures, and they've integrated the power of their service directly into Office using a new modern web add-in framework. It's built on top of HTML5 and JavaScript and communicates the document through a JavaScript object model. Let's switch gears and look at another one. This is an add-in that we're building partnering with SAP that makes it easy for me while I'm building a spreadsheet like my product inventory information to pull information directly from SAP. This is built on top of SAP for Gateway for Microsoft. One of the great things about the new add-in framework is that it works across platforms. So let's switch over to the browser, and in Excel Online, I get to see the same spreadsheet with the same great add-in experience running in both places.
It's the same add-on that goes everywhere Office goes.
That's exactly right. And in fact, let's take a look at Excel for the iPad. And what we see is exactly what you want to have, the same solution hosted in Excel for the iPad, showing the same add-in running for SAP. And this will be released in upcoming months. But let me just show you how I could use that. To connect to SAP, I'll click connect and it does exactly what you want, which is connect to my on-prem SAP server, pull the content out, and deliver it directly inside of my spreadsheet running on the iPad. Cool. Let's talk about something very different. Let's talk about making a presentation. And when I'm doing this, I of course want a constant source of high-quality professional photographs that I can integrate into my slide deck. PicHitMe is a relatively new company that is building just such a service and has provided an add-in here that lets me search through the photos in those service and paste them directly within PowerPoint. And one of the key things about this add-in model is that it's a roadmap for how we're going to do add-ins going forward. So let's take a look at the newest member of the Office family, Sway. This is a tool for interactive storytelling that runs great on the web and renders beautifully mobily. And we've integrated a set of services that make it easy for me to pull in content. We've integrated with PicHit, and we will be delivering in upcoming months, live services. We will be delivering in upcoming months the exact same framework and add-in model that runs across all of the endpoints for Office. That's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. But let's take a look at people working in Outlook, professional users handling and managing all their email, dealing with a great deal of information. They want to stay up to date on who are all these people that we're talking to. And what we're showing here is an add-in from LinkedIn that makes it easy for me to do that. It pulls the users off the to and CC line. It shows them to me directly in the context of my email, so I don't have to leave the flow of how I'm doing my work. Salesforce has built a very similar thing that pulls from the to and CC line, but also looks up the companies that are showing up on the mail thread. So I get to see the people and connect to them in Salesforce, but I can see the accounts, and I can drill right into the opportunities and take action from here within Outlook without leaving the flow of my work.
And it's been great to be working with the Salesforce team because they've really exploited all of the extensions we have across the entire surface area of Office, be it in Excel or in Outlook or in other areas, and built the business process right into the collaboration and communications infrastructure. And that's fantastic to see.
Absolutely. Outlook is not just about mail. Outlook is also about my appointments and my calendaring. And it has all that information in a structured way. But one of the important things for me is not just being at the meeting, but getting there on time. We're partnering with Uber to build a solution that does exactly this. So here's an add-in that Uber has built that I can set an Uber ride reminder to show up ahead of time and make sure that I get to where I need to go. As we switch over here to the iPhone, what I actually see is I've got a reminder from Uber saying slide to get a ride. So I'll go ahead and do that. It brings up Uber, and it sets my pickup location. The cool thing is that it got my destination because that lived in Outlook. So
Right.
Outlook knew where I needed to be, and now Uber knows where I need to go.
Now that's great. So that shows you how applications that you build show up throughout Office. They extend beyond any single application. Now let's talk a little bit about this graph. How are we building the graph and exposing the graph to developers?
Yeah, let's actually pop it open and take a look at exactly what it looks like. So this week at Build, we are announcing a preview of the unified API endpoint for Office 365 APIs. This builds on top of the file, mail, calendar workloads that we delivered last fall. And what it does is make it easy for developers to get to this data in a unified, consistent way. So we're just popping open a little API Explorer tool that can show us what do some of those request and response patterns look like. So what will you as a developer have to do in order to get access to this rich data? What you can see is the URLs are pretty simple. graph.microsoft.com, version number, and the tenant that I am connecting to. And this will make it easy for me, in this example, to query Active Directory to get a list of users. I'm querying from users for a particular department, in this case operations, and what I get back is exactly what you would expect. Clean, well-formatted, easy to understand JSON. Every developer in the room has a whole toolkit that can parse this and use it to build great solutions. But the point is that this is actually a graph, and so I can go from an individual user to drill into their files. All I have to do to get to the files from OneDrive for Business is stick /files on the end of the URL, and from there I see data documents coming back from OneDrive. These are just the files that the logged in user has permission to see.
And that's the powerful concept, which is you no longer are going to different applications for different data. You're not going to Active Directory for users and groups and then to OneDrive for files, but you're able to traverse the entirety of the graph with these APIs.
Exactly right. In fact, speaking of groups, let's pull up another example. Office 365 has a new concept for a unified modern group that brings together the people and the documents and conversations and calendar that they're having, and we're exposing that through the unified API. So I can query the Active Directory for groups, and I can navigate through them to find files that belong to those groups. So here we actually see stick on a /files, and it brings up the files associated with that group, again trimmed for the logged in user. Now, this notion of logged in user is a really common pattern for people building solutions. And so we've actually made it super easy. There's a me token that you can stick in your URL to just get back the data for the logged in user.
And that's probably very important because everything here is permissioned through the policies and ACLs that you put into AD. So in some sense, the me token gives you access for the user using the application's credentials.
Exactly right. And because now I have access to my information, I can go and look at my calendar, just /events on the end of the URL, and that brings back appointments that are live in my Outlook calendar. And it's the same idea to get to messages, /messages, and boom, I'm in my inbox coming from Exchange, and it's just that easy.
Awesome. So how about we talk about the last concept, which is how do we go from here to really building the richness of intelligence inside of your applications?
Sure. So this is powered by the Office Graph, and the thing about the Office Graph is we talked about data, we've talked about add-ins, and we've really talked about how we can use that to drive a whole nother set of insights. We know who are the people, the conversations, the meeting, and the organizations, and what we can do with that is provide additional insights to developers. They can use that in the preview here to query the graph to get information out, and in addition, we're delivering a first-party app in the shape of Delve that actually provides me every day with information about what am I working on and helps me search and discover the content that my colleagues are using.
There's something funny going on?
I'll keep going.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so here I am looking at Delve, and what I see is exactly what you'd expect, some cards and contact that'll help me stay up to date on what my colleagues are doing. So I see an Excel notebook that is coming out of OneDrive that lets me see here's what my boss built, here's some KPIs, here's an attachment that lives in email. But we've been working with partners to imagine what will it look like when we have additional third-party signals coming into the graph. How can they get into this notification stream? And what we see here are opportunities.
So that's a card from Salesforce.
That's exactly right. This is a card from Salesforce showing the amount, showing information about who owns the account, et cetera. I can navigate down. Here's information coming from Twitter. And beneath that, we see information coming from Trello. So if people are collaborating in boards, I can navigate directly through and get to that. And let's actually scroll down a little bit further, and what we see is a purchase order coming from Dynamics AX. That looks like a super important one, so it was great that Delve made it easy for me to take action on it.
Right, so this is no longer now information that is inside of the Office graph that's based on the data of our apps, but people are able to extend the graph with additional edges and nodes that's all surfacing in Delve.
That's exactly right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you very much.
That gives you a flavor for how Office is fundamentally changing. In fact, there's one other SDK that we are launching in addition to the Office graph, which is the Web SDK for Skype, where the presence information, where the ability to embed inside of your applications video chat and messaging is now possible. So you can build a web app, a mobile app, using Skype presence information and Skype embedded inside of your apps. This fundamental change that we are making to Office, this fundamental platform shift of Office, where the users, the 1 billion plus users of Office are available for you as developers, the semantically rich graph that is available for you to consume and extend, and to drive additional engagement through intelligence, we believe is going to change the very fundamental nature of what Office is to becoming really a platform from us and from you together. I know you all waited very patiently to hear about Windows. And it's now time to talk about Windows. Windows 10, as I said, is not just another release of Windows. it is a new generation of Windows. It is Windows built for this era of more personal computing. It's built where mobility of the experience across devices is what is paramount, not just the mobility of the device. It's built such that users can interact with the variety of devices that are going to be powered by Windows in the most natural of ways. It could be touch, it could be ink, speech, mouse and keyboard, or even holograms. It is also built with a foundation of trust. When we talk about more personal, it becomes even more important to know that the data that you are giving the system is being used to benefit the user. Those are the foundational things that drive more personal computing for us. But it's just not that. It is a very different Windows in terms of how we deliver it, how we keep it alive. It's a service. We want to make sure that for every developer here, you have the widest, vibrant user base that your applications can target. We also have a unified platform. Everything from Raspberry Pi to the holographic computer is one developer platform. That means your skills apply across all of the places Windows runs. And lastly, it's one unified store. That means the economic return for what you do on Windows spans the entire install base and the growing device family of Windows. And so I'm really excited about where we are in this journey, but I am most excited about what we together are going to do in the coming year with Windows 10. Let's roll the video.
Embodies what our consumer and our enterprise customers are demanding. We'll be making available a free upgrade.
Cortana, we're excited to welcome you to the Boost.
Windows Insider program gives us that connection at an earlier phase than at any other time in the history of Windows.
Hello, developers. It is so great to be back here at Build to talk about Windows 10. Satya has shared that our aspiration is for customers, for end users to love using Windows 10. Well, we also have this aspiration for you to love developing for Windows 10. Our goal is to make Windows 10 the most attractive development platform ever, enabling you to build the most innovative applications, applications that your customers never before thought possible. Integrate Cortana into your apps. Integrate Xbox Live into your apps, giving your customers awards and achievements, or bring them to life with the avatar. Add natural user interactions to your apps, like pen or speech. Now turn your apps into holograms. With Windows 10, we're targeting the broadest device family ever, from devices with small screens, like phones, to large screens, going beyond an all-in-one PC, to our large wall-mounted displays, the Surface Hub, to devices with no screen at all, like the Internet of Things or HoloLens. We're talking about one platform, a single app, a single binary that can run across all of these devices. When we look at the search terms in the store, and we compare what people are searching for on phones to what's searching for on PCs, we see that 40% of the search terms are exactly the same. Customers are looking for your apps in all of these places. With Apple, you choose to invest in iOS or macOS. With Google, you choose to invest in Android or Chrome OS. Windows is the only ecosystem that lets you bring your apps to all of these devices efficiently. Now, there are many ways to get apps on Windows. Well, let's talk about the Windows Store. Apps that come from the Windows Store come with a set of promises to the end user, your customers. For end users, applications in the Windows Store will be very easy to discover, not only within the store itself, but Joe Belfiore soon will show you how Windows applications can be discovered throughout the Windows experience. Apps from the Windows Store will be easy and fast to install and uninstall if you want, and they will never junk up your system. Commerce with the Windows Store will be convenient and trusted with a wide variety of global payment instruments. Not just the credit cards we use here in the US, but payment instruments like Alipay for China. And today, we're announcing carrier billing, not only for Windows phones, but for all Windows devices. And Windows will have the largest carrier billing footprint of any ecosystem, with connections to 90 mobile operators. Our experience with phones, so this is great for our customers that don't have credit cards, but do have phones. And this is great for developers, because our experience with phones is that in emerging markets, application purchases have gone up by a factor of 8 times when carrier billing is enabled. And now it's available across all Windows devices. The new Windows Store will offer new business models and ways to monetize for all of our Windows developers, including subscriptions, affiliate referrals, an updated advertising SDK with support for video ads and install tracking. One set of tools, one set of processes for you to reach customers across all of these devices and engage with the customers all over the planet with reviews and ratings and the other tools that are available in the Windows Store. And today, we're introducing the Windows Store for Business. Businesses and schools can customize the Windows Store, highlighting applications from the public catalog that they want to make more easily discoverable or recommend to their employees or students. And the Windows Store for Business will support business payment methods, like purchase orders, opening up a new vein of opportunity for Windows developers to engage with Windows enterprises worldwide. Now, to make all this worthwhile for developers, we know we need to get Windows 10 to be broadly adopted quickly. So we started by making it available as a free upgrade for the first year. And now we're investing in making it easy for consumers and businesses to adopt Windows 10 worldwide. And today we're sharing our goal. Our goal is that within 2 to 3 years of Windows 10's release, there will be 1 billion devices running Windows 10. No other platform version in any ecosystem is available on 1 billion devices. Current estimates for Google Play KitKat is at a little over 500 million devices. iOS 8 is lower than that. With Windows 10, there will be 1 billion devices ready to run your applications. Now, we've already been working with many of you on your XAML apps, embracing this new universal Windows platform, working on doing things that you can't do on any other platform. We're delighted to have companies like Disney, Netflix, Line, Twitter, and so many more working with us to build amazing applications for the 1 billion devices that will run Windows 10. Let's take a look at some of the work by these partners. I thought I'd start by highlighting the work being done by USA Today, which has been a great Windows developer and a great partner. Today, they have a separate code base for their phone application and their PC application. They want to bring these code bases together so they can focus on great quality and great functionality, and then take that application to new Windows devices. And so here, you see the USA Today's live tile from their new Universal Windows application. On this PC, it does great work with touch and keyboard shortcuts. The application uses our standard platform controls, so it resizes and reflows as the application is resized on the desktop. Snapping it, allowing me to do more work. Now, you can never get enough reading about Duke's basketball team, so let's go there. And you can see here the article flows great in this size window. Now, this application is also using our platform capabilities to automatically store state in the cloud. So the state of me reading this article is available on all of my Windows devices or other devices that might want to access the same state. So now when I pick up this Windows phone, I have the same binary running here, the same live tile. I run it, and the article's opening up to the exact same place, leveraging the state that was automatically shared to the cloud. One binary, one code base, all working across phone, tablet, and PC. Now, USA Today wants to bring their application to the Xbox. But we don't do a lot of reading of articles on the Xbox, so they wanted to tailor the application, filter the application down to just video feeds. So they invested 1 hour in their universal Windows application code base, and here it is running on the Xbox, filtered down to just video. I'm navigating it with the controller.
Two different national parks.
Navigate down, and I see the same video controls that are available across the Windows 10 platform. Navigating down further in the controller, and I get recommended video articles. So an investment in this one universal Windows application, they now have phones, tablets, PCs, interactive television, all covered with one code base and one app. That's cool. So now let's take a look at the work Tencent's done with their WeChat application. WeChat's an incredible phenomenon. They just crossed 500 million monthly active users, growing 40% year over year. They've been a great application for Windows Phone users. Here they are on my Windows Phone. Tencent wanted to bring WeChat to Windows PCs and tablets. So they made an investment in their Silverlight application on the phone. The team spent about approximately 1 month. And they now have a universal Windows app that runs great on the phones and will also now be available on the desktop with some tailored experiences for the desktop. So let's look at WeChat on the desktop. Now, on the phone, if you noticed, Shen had sent me a message. I have WeChat installed in this PC, but now we can access that new message from the notification center. I click on the notification center message from WeChat. This is the same binary running both places. Open the message from Shen asking for the file, and here they've done some tailoring to accept drag and drop from the desktop, all with one universal Windows application that's running across these devices. So USA Today and WeChat are just a couple of the many great apps coming to the Universal Windows platform. In a few minutes, Joe Belfiore will join us and show how universal Windows apps are going to enable you to do things you never thought possible on a phone. And Alex Kipman's going to join to talk about how universal Windows apps you never thought possible on HoloLens. Now, partners like these are giving us great feedback as they engage across all these devices with the universal Windows platform. Netflix loves it. They can deploy their apps efficiently everywhere. The team at Trivia Crack, my favorite, it's a great game. Trivia Crack, told us that developing a universal app is 4 times faster than developing for Android and iOS. So let me just say thank you for your early engagement on the universal Windows platform so we can bring your applications to life. So that was about new. So that was all about new universal Windows apps. But today we want to talk also about your current code, your current apps. Windows has always embraced a wide variety of technologies to build great apps. And today, we're going to announce 4 new ones. 4 new ways to leverage your existing code and skills. 4 new ways to reduce the cost and effort, making it easy for you to bring applications to the Windows Store. 4 new ways to delight 1 billion Windows 10 customers at home, at school, and at work. Let's start by talking about the web. Now, many of you have websites that provide great functionality to your customers. Today, I'm announcing that you can reuse your current server-hosted website code and tools and take advantage of the rich capabilities of the universal Windows platform. To have your website send notifications, to give your website a live tile, have your website integrate with Cortana, do in-app purchases, integrate with Xbox Live, and more. This will help your websites reach new customers and delight Windows customers in new ways. Let's see this in action. So to demonstrate this, we're going to use a website, 22 Tracks, which DJs across Europe use to exchange their tunes. It's a very rich website, uses WebGL, reflows to the browser resizing. It's a great website. But what they've done is they've registered their website with the Windows Store, and then I have installed that application on this machine. Oops, there it is. And it's going to open up as an application. The server-hosted web code can detect whether the code is executing inside a browser tab or inside an application frame. When it's inside an application frame, it knows it can call the whole universal Windows platform. So now, when I close the browser tab, the website's gone. But now that it's an app, when I close the app, 22 Tracks can now send me a notification. I click on the notification, and I come back to their app. Likewise, now that 22 Tracks is can detect they're running as an app, they can efficiently, conveniently offer in-app purchases to all their customers for the music, leveraging the commerce capabilities of the Windows Store. So this is just fantastic, letting website developers leverage all of their server-hosted code and take advantage of the capabilities of the Windows platform and the Windows Store. So now the second technology I want to announce today to enable you to bring new applications to the Windows Store is actually the most popular technology within the Windows development community, .NET and Win32. There's over 16 million .NET and Win32 applications being used every month in the Windows user base, ranging from some amazing games to some of the most important line of business apps used worldwide. This is a testament to the great work being done by Windows developers. So I'm so excited to announce that we will be adding support for bringing your .NET and Win32 apps into the Windows Store and take advantage of all of the new Universal Windows Platform capabilities. To show you how this works, let's use an app that's loved by customers worldwide, one of the best Win32 applications ever, Adobe Photoshop. So here you see Adobe Photoshop Elements in the Windows Store. Now, I shared earlier the promise the Windows Store makes to end users, that applications will be very efficiently installed, uninstalled, and will never junk up your system. We know, though, at the same time, Win32 applications can do anything to a Windows system. So we've learned from AppV, our enterprise application virtualization technology. We've adopted it for the Windows Store. So now, Win32 and .NET applications come down from the Windows Store, and they run in an isolated way from the rest of the system, so we can deliver on that promise to end users to deliver a great end user experience. And so here is Photoshop. You can see it is the full Photoshop experience with great performance. And I'll prove that to you with the full limits of my Photoshop capabilities. Helping Scott out here. So there you go. But all come down from the Windows Store. And it's very exciting to share that later this year, Adobe will be bringing Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements to the Windows Store. So the Windows Store will have great support for apps built using web code, .NET and Win32 code, enabling you to use your current code bases, extend them using Windows 10's new platform capabilities, and delight customers across the 1 billion Windows 10 devices. Now, the third technology I am announcing today will enable developers to reuse nearly all of the Java and C++ code from an Android phone app to create apps for phones running Windows 10. To make this possible, Windows phones will include an Android subsystem where an app can be written that takes advantage of the Android code, but also the extensions you would write in the Windows platform to really delight the Windows user. To show you how this works, please welcome to the stage Agnieszka.
Thank you, Terry. Hello. My name is Agnieszka Gerling. I'm one of the project leaders working on the technology that will enable you to build great Windows apps by reusing a lot of the code you have written for Android. Here, I have an Android device. And on it, I am running the Choice Hotels app. Choice Hotels is the highest rated app in its category, makes it very easy for travelers to find a great hotel. But I'm going to switch to Windows Phone. On this Windows Phone, I am also running the Choice Hotels app. This app is reusing the code you just saw running on the other device. I'd like to look for hotels nearby. The app is taking advantage of the Windows Location API to find hotels in San Francisco, California. Okay. Can I have a switch?
Yeah, just keep going.
Device switch? Well, let's try that again. Okay, we've switched. All right, as I scroll through the results, you can see that the Windows graphics and touch just work, and the app is running smoothly. It's running in the Windows security container to ensure a trustworthy experience for Windows users. I'd like to go back. And as I hit the back button, please note that the app's navigation is integrated with the Windows navigation model. I'd like to select a different city. So I am going to type in Seattle with the built-in Windows keyboard. Okay. So I have just shown you how an app can efficiently reuse its existing code to deliver a great experience on Windows. And in tomorrow's keynote, we will show you how you can light up your app's experience with native Windows features such as live tiles and with Microsoft services. Thank you. Terry, back to you.
Thanks, Agnieszka.
So Windows 10 is going to enable you to reuse your web code, your .NET and Win32 code, your Android, Java, and C++ code to build amazing new applications. Bringing the code over, extending it, putting it in the Windows Store, and reaching 1 billion Windows 10 customers. Finally, the fourth technology to build great new universal Windows applications is Objective-C. So today we're announcing that you will be able to compile the same Objective-C code that's being used in iOS applications within Visual Studio on Windows. Enabling you to leverage that code and extend it with the capabilities only found on the Windows platform. Let's take a look. So here, in this directory, we have an iOS application, Math Dream. You can see here the Xcode project file for Math Dream. You can see the nibs and zip files for the UI. You go into the classes directory, you can see the .m files for the Objective-C. Using the toolkit we're announcing today, we've converted the Xcode project file into a Visual Studio solution. So let's open it up here in Visual Studio. You can see full support for this Visual Studio project's Objective-C. Great syntax highlighting support that you'd expect from Visual Studio, including highlighting all of the weirdness of Objective-C. We've taken this application, and now we can debug it and execute this tablet app on Windows. You can see that this is a relatively sophisticated app that uses UIKit, uses core animation on Windows. The performance is good, but it also works with mouse and touch. You can do very complex arithmetic, too. Look at that. But actually, that's the wrong answer, so let's adjust this to the right number of apples. And you can see, not only can it correctly do math, but this application has been extended to offer me an Xbox Live achievement for doing the proper math equation. Now you might be wondering if this actually works. Will it work for a more complex app? Now usually when we announce this kind of thing, we would say coming soon. Well, in this case, it's different. We've been working with some great development partners on bringing their applications to Windows using this technology already. And today, I'm very excited to share, but this is how King brought Candy Crush Saga to Windows Phone. The app has 4.5-star reviews, 40,000 reviews. King brought the app to Windows Phone with a very fast time to market, very few code modifications, and it's a great app. And now, King will be releasing more titles for Windows 10 soon. So 4 is not enough. So there's actually one more thing we're going to do to help make it easy for you to build great Windows applications. And that is, we need to get you some great hardware. So we're going to start today by giving everyone here a brand new HP Spectre 2-in-1. This is a great device. Compared to a MacBook Pro, it's thinner, it's lighter, it has longer battery life, and of course, it has a touch display. And I would encourage everyone here to join the Windows Insider program, engage with us on this platform, and help shape it for your needs. But please do the upgrade to Windows 10 from your hotel's Wi-Fi, not the Wi-Fi here at the conference. So today we talked about our goal to have 1 billion Windows 10 devices, the unique capabilities of the Windows 10 platform, and our commitment to a broad range of technologies to leverage your skills and your current code to build great apps. And we've got so much more to come. So please welcome Joe Belfiore.
All right. Good morning. Hello. It's nice to be here at Build with all of you. So you got a chance to look at how the Universal Windows Platform is going to enable all of you and tons of other developers to build great, compelling apps. And what I'm here to do, as Terry said, is to talk about how we're going to enhance the Windows user experience so that end users on lots and lots of devices, but in particular, I'm going to focus on the PC, how end users will be able to discover and engage with all of the apps that you and we write. We know that great technology for building apps is just part of the story. You need users to engage with them. So I want to show you some of the work we're doing that's going to make that possible. And then I'm going to wrap up with one more cool demo of how the Universal Windows Platform enables new devices and new kinds of actions on devices. So let me just jump right in and get started. So I have here a very recent build of Windows 10 for the PC, and I'm going to begin on the Start menu. I want to show you some of the work we've been doing to continue to tweak the design and improve the visuals and the interaction. So you'll see what I've got here we think is pretty close to what we expect to have when we're done, although of course we're going to continue to take feedback from our insiders. You'll notice there's new beautiful live tile animations that help draw people's attention to the apps and the app data for the things that they've pinned. You'll notice we've cleaned the layout up a bit. For those of you insiders who kind of surprised us with your enthusiasm for Windows 7's Aero Glass, you'll notice the translucency here is the blur effect that you saw in Windows 7, so we're trying to bring some of that feel back. We've got the most used apps here. We're putting File Explorer, Settings, Power, All apps at the bottom. We're bringing jump lists back in, so you can see here's File Explorer with jump lists, and this will work for other apps as well. Thank you. But the thing I want to sort of focus on a little bit is this space right here, where in this case, I haven't installed an app for a little while. So the system is going to give us a smart suggestion for an app in the store that is going to be one that's suitable for me. As I'm using my PC, on the client, we know which apps you're launching and which apps you're installing, and so we're able to communicate with the store and bring down suggestions that are personalized for you to help users learn about great new apps that are available for them to try out on their PC. And as time goes by, we reuse that space in a smart way to help script the user's discovery of apps first, but then their engagement later. So if I've installed an app, as you see here, for a little while that space becomes the recently installed app. The user can find the app, they can revisit it, and if they use it enough, it'll move its way up into the most used section automatically. And of course, at any time, the user can drag from left to right to take any of those apps and pin them as full live tiles. So think of this as the user's life cycle of discovery and engagement and reuse, which we're trying to script right into the start menu. There's a whole other area that users are engaging with where we want to bring some beauty and new ideas for how they can get value out of their PC experience, and that is the lock screen. So I want to show you some of what we're doing on lock to help users discover and engage with the value in the Windows ecosystem. So imagine you're a user and this morning you wake up and you turn on your PC or your tablet and you get this beautiful lock screen. Well, in this case, you're using our Windows Spotlight feature, which you could choose to use or not on your lock screen, and it provides a service-driven, personalized stream of information on your lock screen for you. And so maybe in a week you'll wake up and your screen looks a little different. In this case, you say to yourself, man, that is a beautiful and striking image. You're so enthused by it that you move your mouse to the upper right, click on the hotspot, like what you see. And here's a place where you have the opportunity to train our service on which things are interesting to you. In this case, I find out this is the Navajo Loop switchbacks. It's a cool looking trail. I might vote that I love it, and then I'll get more images like that. Time goes by. One day, you see an image like this. Now, this is because we are able, as I said, to understand on the client what your use of the PC is and communicate that data to the service to give personally relevant suggestions. And so I want you to imagine a user who's had Windows 10 for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and they haven't used Cortana yet. They haven't tried it out. And because they haven't tried it out, our service is able to provide the client with a set of options that we can display to help users learn about, discover, and engage with value in the Windows ecosystem. And in this case, you see the image that's suggestive of Cortana. There's a few more hotspots to give you more information. If you click in the upper left, we'll give you a preview of what the Cortana UI would be like. And you could click Give Me a Try, then unlock your PC. We'll reveal the Cortana user experience, and now you can try it out for yourself. Keep in mind, this is personalized, and it's informed by what you do on the PC. So if you're a power user who's been using Cortana, you're not going to see this. Imagine time goes by. You get more beautiful images. Your desktop PC or your tablet always feels fresh with all this great stuff. And then one morning, you might see an image like this. As a tablet user, you maybe have not tried out all the capabilities of your tablet to do stuff like beautiful artwork using the pen. And in fact, here's an app that gives you that kind of benefit that you haven't used so far. And there's a few extra hotspots to help you learn about it. When you click in the upper left, the Fresh Paint app that's in the store is described. And at any time, you could choose to click Get It Now. Your PC, you'd unlock your PC, jump right into the store, and then you'd be able to install the app and try it out. And then a few days go by, and you're back to seeing your beautiful images. We call this feature the Windows Spotlight, and it's optional. Any user can turn it on with their lock screen and then get the value of learning about new things in the Windows ecosystem in a way that's tailored for you, and also get this beautiful stream of images on your lock screen. So that's another way that we're going to help users find and discover value in the Windows ecosystem. Okay. I want to show you yet another part of our user experience that we've continued to evolve with feedback from our insiders, and which has a lot of relevance to users discovering and engaging with apps. That's Cortana. So of course, we've done lots of demos of Cortana. I'm not going to go through the end user features of Cortana, but I want to show you a couple of ways that Cortana will assist with engagement. I should quickly point out there's some new UI that we have for Cortana that you all haven't seen yet. You'll be getting this in a flight coming up soon. Over here, I have access to the Cortana home. I'll fold this out so you can see the notebook, your reminders, your favorite places. And of course, here is the Cortana the place where she gives you proactive suggestions and information based on your interests. You can see I follow Microsoft stock, I follow the Mariners baseball team, I care about sports news in general, the Seattle Seahawks, and so on. So those are personal interests that I've educated Cortana about, which are things that are relevant to me. And you'll see how this comes up again later. Now, one of the really high use cases for that Cortana edit control right there is people typing to ask questions, get information, but also to launch apps. And we think that's a great, relevant way to help people discover new value as well. So imagine I'm running Star Wars Commander on my PC. I've got it installed and I run it a lot. I might start typing in to launch the app, and you'll notice in this case there's a new Star Wars Rebels app in the Star Wars app family, and we're going to promote right up at the top this new app that's available for you to install. Now, I will point out, because you may be sitting there thinking, that's not that much promotion. We've done some user testing on this, and we're going to bulk up that store app tile to provide a little bit more information, more along the lines of what you saw in Start. So we think this is going to be quite a helpful way to discover new apps that are available in the store. Now, Terry mentioned this, and Satya mentioned the notion that we care about natural interaction. We want Cortana to represent a single way for users on Windows to interact with all kinds of capabilities that are built throughout the ecosystem. So we're connecting Cortana's typed natural language and spoken natural language deeply into your apps. And we're doing this in two ways. And this is quite a bit farther than we did with Windows Phone before. So I want to show you the range of sorts of things that are possible. I want you to imagine in one case, I want to bring up the app to do a task with the app. And in the other case, I simply want Cortana to get something done for me using the technology that's part of an app. So here's a couple of examples. Hey, Cortana, start a chat with Terry Myerson on Viber.
Starting a chat with Terry Myerson.
Now, in this case, I gave a natural language query. I said I want to start a chat, I said it was with Terry, and I said I wanted her to do it on Viber. And in this case, she opens up the app, I'm in my chat context with the previous chatting we were doing, and I can keep going with my chat. So that's sort of a deep app launching kind of task. But then there's a whole class of tasks where we want Cortana to represent being a personal assistant that can get things done for you, even using the capabilities that are written into the apps that are part of the Windows ecosystem. So I can ask Cortana to execute commands in apps and get confirmation right on her canvas. Hey, Cortana, tell Terry Myerson I'm running really late using Viber.
Okay, message Terry Myerson on Viber. Myerson, I'm running really late. Sounds good?
Yep. Yes. Yep.
Message sent.
Okay, there we go. So you get the idea here. Now in this case, I asked Cortana to do something using an app, and in that case the app UI didn't need to get displayed, and so Cortana's canvas was able to do the disambiguation. If I want to, I could go right here and click the link to open the app, but that's not what I need to do. There's Cortana helping me get stuff done. Okay, so I've talked about the lock screen, the start screen, Cortana. There's one other really big feature in Windows 10 that has relevance to this conversation to all of you as developers, and that is Project Spartan. Project Spartan, Project Spartan. You know, I have to admit, our PR team has been giving me and us a hard time because they say it's not a great idea to keep saying Project Spartan when that's not really the name of the web. Would you like to hear the name of the new web browser in Windows 10? Okay, let's run the video. Microsoft Edge is the browser built for Windows 10. And it'll be available on the widest range of Windows 10 devices. And for us, the name refers to the idea of being on the edge of consuming and creating. It refers to the developer notion of being closest to the modern capabilities of the web. And so it is a browser that end users will think about for getting things done. For things like note-taking on the internet, for a great way of reading and consuming content. And it's a browser that has Cortana built in, so it learns the things that you care about and helps you get things done. I'm not going to go show any of that stuff. We've shown that before. As developers, there are a few reasons that you're going to care about Microsoft Edge. You're going to care about the blazing fast core technology that's inside it, and you'll hear more about that in a talk tomorrow. You're going to care that we're writing it as a universal Windows app, proving out the platform. And you're also going to care because we're going to make it help users discover and engage with your apps and your sites. So let me come over here and show you some of what we're doing there. And I'm going to come down here to the E icon on the taskbar, which now has a completely different and better meaning than it has for a while, and open up Microsoft Edge. Now, the first thing that I want to show you that's new is the new tab page that we're adding to Microsoft Edge. Today in IE, the task of starting a new tab and starting new web browsing happens over 1 billion times a day. So this is a heavily used piece of UI. And you'll see here how we're going to take advantage of Cortana's presence in the browser and understanding of you, along with an understanding of value in the ecosystem to give users a great way to start their web browsing experience or to discover other things. So you can see, of course, I can type to enter a web address or do a search. Up here are my top sites. And in some cases, there's an app available for these sites in the store, so we make that discoverable and available. As I scroll down, you'll see here's some featured apps that we're showing. Here's a lot of news stories that are relevant to me. In fact, my sports favorites that you saw in Cortana and my stock watch list in Cortana, those are represented right here in the new tab page. That's an example of Cortana helping to compose this in a way that's useful to me. So that's new tab. And we've been testing this a ton, and we're optimistic about its opportunity to help people discover and connect with work that you all do on the web and in apps. Now, there's another big thing that we're doing in Microsoft Edge that has huge relevance to you, and that is enabling users to engage with your sites and give you a shot at starting to write some web code, which you may put into an app, via web extensions built into Microsoft Edge. So I'm going to show you a couple of web extensions. This is HTML and JavaScript, web extensions using web standards that people have been writing for Firefox and Chrome for quite a while. We've grabbed a couple of these from Chrome with just a few minor modifications, and we're lighting them up right in here in Microsoft Edge. So the first thing, how many Reddit users do we have? Yes? Come on, you must be Reddit users. For those of you who are Power Reddit users, maybe in some of the other browsers, you've tried the Reddit Enhancement Suite, which modifies the markup on Reddit to make it easier to find images and scroll pages. Well, we've brought that to Microsoft Edge, as I said, with just a few changes. So as I scroll down here, you'll see the web has been altered via this little paw print here that I can use to expand, and his little pink nose just kills me too as I look at this cute image. Is that a cat or a mouse? I don't even know. And as I scroll down here, you'll see the never-ending Reddit modifies the page to continue to expand it as we go. It was virtually no work to take this from the Chrome extension store and run this. This is standards-based HTML and JavaScript, just running here as part of an extension. Now, another example, which certainly matters in terms of user engagement, up here you'll see we've added a Pinterest extension to the browser toolbar. And when I click that, this is going to interact with the markup on the page to show all of the images that were generated by the Reddit Enhancement Suite. And now I can find tons of things here that are incredibly cute that I might pin to one of the many Pinterest cute animal boards that I know all of you keep just for this sort of thing. So with Microsoft Edge and the new support for these extensions, you'll see how we're going to enable people to discover and engage with code that you're propping up on the web. And as I said, of course, you could bring that into an app as well. So you've seen, for engagement, the start screen, the lock screen. You've seen Cortana, and Microsoft Edge, all helping people discover value in the Windows ecosystem. But now what I'm going to do is change gears and talk about how the Windows platform and universal Windows apps make devices more valuable to end users. In general, we have a vision and an idea that the Windows platform and apps written for it should be able to flex to different screen sizes and different input methods, not by writing separate code, but by having a platform that's smart enough to do it. In fact, even dynamically on the same device. And we call this feature Continuum. It's a promise to end users made along with our OEM partners that devices can flex. So I want to show you some of the ways that Continuum is evolving, and I want to show you some of the ways that your apps can light up a great Continuum experience. I'm going to start with an 8-inch tablet. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad. It's running full Windows. It's got an Intel-compatible part. And the first thing you might notice, of course, I'm going to use this in tablet mode. So you're looking at tablet mode. But for those of you who've paid attention closely, and especially if you've given us feedback, our touch start in tablet mode, we've simplified here. We've made the live tiles bigger. This looks very familiar to Windows 8 users. And the extra stuff, your most used list, your sign in, things like File Explorer settings, the power switch, are all over here. I can navigate to all apps. All apps are shown nicely in this list. We now have jump lists working in here in a nice way with animation and so on. So it's really easy for me to navigate around my apps. Of course, down here in the system task switcher, I've got my task switching button, which I can use to switch between lots of apps. Here's Excel. That's the Excel for Windows 10. And what I'm going to do here is jump into Maps. And I want to do some navigation in the Maps app here, and I want to show you how this will scale to a more full PC-like experience. So here I am in my map. I'm going to go up here, choose the Favorites menu, and down here in this panel on the bottom, we're first going to navigate to New York City. And I want to point out that the system UI now includes a global back button. So I'll hit the back button. The app navigates back, and now we'll navigate to Tampa. Now what I'm going to do, I want you to think about me using this in a very natural, touch-friendly way. But now, since it's a full PC, I'm going to bring it back to my office, and I'm just going to dock it in here. And when I do, I want you to notice how the Maps app experience changes to adapt. The panel that was on the bottom when I was in portrait mode is now on the left side. And in fact, when I restore this window, I've now got my Excel, I've got my PowerPoint, all here running in a familiar way with windows that I can minimize and restore in PC mode. So that's an example of Continuum really helping me flex on a small tablet. The next example I want to show you that's new is here on this Surface Pro 3, where I have a rich, complex Win32 app. This is Autodesk's Maya. It's a high-end, heavily used, very popular 3D authoring app. And if you notice the UI, I've got lots of toolbars and palettes. Down here, I've got the timeline where I might edit animation of my 3D character. But imagine I'm an artist, and so I might use this docked with a big screen keyboard and mouse. I might use it like this. But sometimes I'm going to remove the keyboard entirely and use it like a tablet. And in this case, here's a Win32 app responding to that change in state in the system and adapting its UI. And now I can use touch, or I could use the pen to be able to do things like mark up right on the character. Maybe I'm now going to be in this mode where I want to take notes for people on my team, share my thoughts on the character. The app flexes to take advantage of the use of the pen and touch as opposed to mouse and keyboard, and in that case, using Win32. Now, I have one last thing I want to show. Thank you. I have one last thing I want to show. So far, we've shown this Continuum feature working with our shell and with apps on the PC and watching the PC device flex across these form factors. But we have a vision that not only the PC can benefit from flexibility in use of input devices and screen sizes, so too can the phone. And so today we're excited to show for the first time Continuum for phones built into Windows 10. So let me give you a look at how that works. So over here, I should point out, we need new hardware for this, and I don't have that hardware working today. In fact, we're going to try a demo of that at a session on Thursday. So you're seeing a simulation. What I'm going to do is connect my phone, and let's see, get this going. Once I connect my phone, I want you to think of this. I've got a Bluetooth keyboard, a Bluetooth mouse, and a screen, just a screen, that I'm connecting via HDMI. Okay? So because this phone software has all the core componentry that's highly shared between the PC, things like Bluetooth keyboard and mice, they're supported. And you might notice, I'm not sure if the shot shows this, but at the top of my phone screen now, it says tap for mouse and keyboard controller. I could tap that and then get essentially a mouse pad on my phone. But I don't need to do that because I have a full Bluetooth mouse and keyboard right here. Up here on the monitor, you'll notice this looks very familiar. I mean, it's the same start menu with tiles I had on my phone, now displayed like a start menu. And I'm going to start running apps to give you a sense of how well the phone experience transforms through Continuum to give you a very PC-like experience. First, I'll launch PowerPoint. This is the version of PowerPoint that comes with the phone. And what you see on the big screen here sure looks like the version of PowerPoint that you would see on a PC, because in fact it is the same code as the version of PowerPoint that you would download from the store and see on a PC. I can do things like use my mouse and keyboard to create a new slide. I'm going to go up here, use the ribbon to insert pictures. Remember, this is my phone. So as I'm inserting the photos, I bring up my photos. This is the camera roll of my phone and the photos that I've synced from OneDrive. I'll choose an appropriate desert picture from a trip I made to Utah, and I'll insert that into my PowerPoint presentation in a completely natural and familiar way using the keyboard and the mouse. Let's look at some other examples. I'm going to click here to go into Mail. And the Outlook Mail client that comes with Windows 10 PCs and comes with phones is now viewed, and it looks completely familiar. Here's my mail folders. I can choose a message in my inbox, and over here I'll click the reply button where I have the full power of the Word engine embedded right in Outlook for doing replies, and there's the familiar ribbon. You can see here Anne is asking me to update the latest expense report. Eric's going to give me the December expenses, so I'm going to switch over here to Excel, where we're doing our expense reporting, and you'll see here's Excel, the universal Windows app, Excel, running on the phone, but looking the same as it would on the PC. I'll choose my expense reporting app, and look at this, my phone just buzzed. I got a text from Eric right there. I'm going to click to navigate on my phone screen separately to my text app. I'll press and hold to get the context menu, and I'll choose copy, because I'm going to copy from that text right here to my December cell. And of course, my brain is wired to know the keyboard shortcuts for all these apps, so I will hit Control-V to paste. I'll use my task switcher to come back to the Outlook email client, and I can do a quick reply and send. Thank you. Now, think about this. With Continuum for phones, we believe any screen can be your PC. Imagine that your company has a touchdown space where anyone could connect their tablet or their phone to keyboards, mice, and screens, and then use their apps with their data and the full power of a keyboard and mouse. Or imagine you're on vacation and your hotel room can become a theater where you connect your phone to the screen, you let your kids watch a movie while you use the second screen to catch up on your email. Imagine the effect this can have on mobile-first countries, where individuals could be as productive with the phone that they're buying if they can't buy a full PC. So what we're trying to show here today with Continuum is our unique vision for phones and enabling them to scale up to a full PC-like experience. And what we have so far is just the first step, because it requires all of you writing these universal Windows apps whose UI can scale and adjust to different form factors, input types, and screen sizes. As I said, this capability will require new devices that can drive dual screen, and you'll hear more about them later. So that is my quick look at how we're going to help all of you and our end users discover value in the Windows ecosystem on the lock screen, on the start screen, with Cortana, with Microsoft Edge, and how we're going to enable great new devices with Continuum. And I'm now excited to introduce to the stage Alex Kipman, who's going to tell you even more about some great new devices. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning, everyone. Now, Joe just showed you how to do incredible things with Windows, from the little screen to the big screen. Now, I get the pleasure to show you how to do incredible things with Windows on no screens at all, with the same familiar tools and skills you already have. It's surreal being here today, less than 100 days since we mixed holograms with our world. Less than 100 days ago, we showed you how Windows Holographic amplifies what is human about each of us. Humans live in the real world, and we should not be confined to the virtual or just the digital. We experience life in 3 dimensions. We move, we see, and we hear in 3 dimensions. Our dreams, fantastical or entrepreneurial, start in the real world. Windows Holographic embraces this notion of experiencing life in 3 dimensions by mixing digital content right into your world, right into your life with more reality than ever before. Now, the truth of the matter is, people, not devices, are mobile, and we are ready for technology to move beyond devices, to move beyond screens and pixels, and to move beyond today's digital borders. Now, in January, we showed you glimmers of this holographic landscape, glimmers of this more natural way of interacting with digital content. We introduced Microsoft HoloLens, the world's first and only fully untethered holographic computer. And I have to admit, we have been humbled by the outpouring of enthusiasm, spanning from consumers to businesses. And the response we receive from developers like yourselves has been remarkable. On behalf of the entire Microsoft team, thank you. We share your enthusiasm, and today we take the next step in unveiling the Windows holographic platform. Focus on you, the dreamers, the creators, the Windows developers. So let's get started by taking a tour of Windows Holographic. And to help us with that, please help me welcome on stage one of the creative minds behind holograms, Darren. Hi, Darren.
Hello, Alex.
Now, before we start, let me explain the setup a little bit. Darren is wearing a HoloLens, and he sees this globe we showed you in January right in his world. Now, we also have this custom camera rig over here so that you can see the holograms up on these screens as if the camera is wearing a HoloLens. Now, when we introduced Windows Holographic, the globe was just a slide. Today, Darren is experiencing it as a universal Windows app. And guess what? It's running on Windows 10. Welcome to Windows Holographic. This is Life with Holograms. And as you can see, Darren has customized his space. Instead of digging through menus, everything is right where he wants it.
Yeah, whether it's Microsoft Edge, Photos, or video apps, these are simply universal Windows apps that we've placed as holograms. So, whether it's a slate on the wall, or something a little bit more dimensional, like my loyal companion Fang here, hey buddy, you can customize your space the way you want it. Now, I want to add something to my space, so I'm going to pull up my holographic start menu, and I'm going to open up Skype. I'm the worst at keeping in touch, so I'm going to take the people that matter most to me, and I'm going to pin them to this wall right here. That way, every time I walk into this room, I'll see their smiling faces and be inspired to reach out to them.
We're all creatures of habit, and we do different things in different spaces in our homes. This stage, as an example, is modeled after Darren's apartment.
Yeah, and this is where I'd hang out in my apartment and surround myself with the applications that I want to access or just check out. For example, I'm planning a trip to Hawaii in a couple weeks, so I placed this awesome weather app over here So when I'm moving around, I can easily glance at it, reference it, and understand what the weather's going to be like when I get there, hopefully still hot. Then if I look up here on the wall, to my left, I've got a video player. I simply reach out, air tap, and I'm right in the action.
Now, what if Darren has things to do around the house? He shouldn't be confined to watching just on one wall. He should be able to take his entertainment with him anywhere and remain hands-free as he does it.
Yeah, so all I need to say is follow me. Now wherever I go in my house, my entertainment tags along. All right. And where it gets where I'm going, I simply place it, and I can scale it as big as I want. Now, that's not something just a video player does. Every single universal Windows app has the same capabilities. For example, I placed a calendar over here because, as Alex will tell you, I'm late for pretty much every meeting. So this makes it, a guy like me, makes it a lot easier for me to just check in and see what I've got coming up next. We're discovering uses for holograms every day. We know with all you here at Build, putting your minds towards it, we're going to be discovering new uses every second. I hope you have an inspiring time at Build. We'll see you out there.
Thank you, Darren. As you just saw, holographic computing can seamlessly connect the digital world with real life. This mixed reality grants us permission to reinvent productivity by creating experiences not possible on any other device or any other platform. Back in January, we asked you to imagine an architect walking around their designs while clients review them remotely. Now, the construction industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yet, many of their processes have remained unchanged. Over the past few months, we have had the great honor to partner with an organization that has been transforming the construction industry for over 60 years. So let's take a sneak peek at how holographic computing, enabled by Windows 10, is fundamentally changing how they think about architecture, construction, and collaboration.
Architects are dealing with shapes and spaces and light, and they dream in 3D. And then you need to translate this design into a set of 2D documents. HoloLens present a completely new paradigm. Trimble provides design solutions for architects and structural engineers.
Anything that involves getting dirty is our business. Literally hundreds of enterprises can be represented on a job site. Today, the best way those companies have to interact with each other is paper drawings. But people aren't good at visualizing 3D.
Microsoft HoloLens is a head-mounted, self-contained computer that lets you see holograms in the real world.
You get the physical model as a focus point for the team to collaborate around. And you get the hologram with the flexibility, with the ability to run quick iterations.
You'll see how we've brought in the courtyard that you suggested. You see that mouse go off the screen and into holographic space, and you're then interacting with the hologram with the mouse.
The thing that we can do for architects is really give them much higher confidence around decision making. One way we can do that is we can allow them to literally immerse themselves in the scene that they're building and see street side how the building's going to look.
Visualizing design data in the context of the real environment is a much better way to make sure that the design is implemented correctly on site.
Microsoft HoloLens allows you to collaborate with somebody regardless of distance, like they were there. Hello there.
Hey, Igor, where they're trying to put this door, there's a beam behind here.
I'm looking at this beam. We're interacting with it about a problem that we can see and being able to solve that problem with all the data that we need in front of us in real time.
When I'm talking about enterprise construction, I always compare it to people trying to make music together. Each one of them is contributing to the harmony, but they all should be completely synced.
My gray hair says I've been doing this for a while. I've seen a lot of these new things come and go. And I expect in 5 years, we'll all be interacting with the world with this kind of technology.
Holograms are already being sculpted by some of the most creative people around. Now, with this ability to design and shape holograms, you have a new medium to express your creativity, to visualize your work and share ideas. Your digital creations become so much more relevant when they come to life in the real world. But that's just the beginning of what holograms can enable. Windows Holographic also provides you with a unique opportunity to change how you teach and learn in more effective ways. On January 21st, we asked you to imagine a surgeon learning a procedure without picking up a scalpel. Since then, we have partnered with an institution accustomed to thinking beyond the possible. And to show us what they have been up to, please help me welcome on stage Professor Mark Griswold from Case Western Reserve University and our team member, Michelle. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Michelle.
Good morning.
Now, Mark is part of a team from Case Western and the Cleveland Clinic. We invited them to use Windows Holographic to advance medical education beyond what is possible with today's state-of-the-art. Take it away.
Thanks, Alex. Today we use a combination of cadavers and medical illustrations to teach students anatomy. This is a curriculum that hasn't drastically changed in over 100 years because there simply hasn't been another way. The mixed reality of the HoloLens has the potential to revolutionize this education by bringing 3D content into the real world. Now, one of the biggest challenges for students learning anatomy is understanding the body in 3 dimensions and how all the different systems fit together. Using holograms, we can easily separate and focus in on individual systems. For example, we can focus in on the femur, and students can immediately see some of the types of fractures they may one day encounter in the clinic. Now, I can leverage all of these new capabilities while maintaining the important connection with my students. When we're both wearing a HoloLens, I can see what they're looking at, what they're interacting with, I can assess their progress, and they can communicate with me and each other naturally. For example, I can see if Michelle has a question in class, or whether Gwen has a question while learning remotely. Now, obviously, a cadaver doesn't move. This makes it difficult to see the way a living body actually works. HoloLens doesn't have this limitation. Systems can be animated to easily see how things function. Let's take a look at the center of the cardiovascular system, the heart. It's an amazing organ. In reality, it's about the size of your fist. With HoloLens, we can easily scale up the heart to let students see minute details. We can even see inside the heart to see the valves in action. This is a new way of seeing things, and it has the potential to help students understand the structure and physiology of the body in a way that's just not possible today. Now, what you've just seen is a vision of how HoloLens could enhance one single subject. But as an educator, it's easy for me to see that it's not just anatomy that could benefit from this technology. This could change how everyone learns. Imagine for a moment some of the other fields that could be changed. For example, chemistry and genetics, art, engineering, and paleontology. And the best part is, we get to help define that future together. I can't wait to see what you future holographic developers are going to do with this amazing technology. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you to our friends at Case Western and the Cleveland Clinic. From NASA JPL to Trimble to Case Western, these are just a few of the amazing partners we are actively collaborating with to transform different industries now that holograms have become part of our everyday life. Now I feel very fortunate to be in this moment in time. All the different pieces are starting to fall into place. As we enter this decade, the amount of processing power you can get into a small form factor for a reasonable price point is just staggering. Even in the last few years, as we developed HoloLens, the innovation in optics, sensors, and silicon has allowed us to move forward a few orders of magnitude. Now, people used to say, computers today can do enough. My apps run just fine. The internet runs just fine. What are we going to do with all of this extra computing power? And the answer to that is that we are going to put a different emphasis on it. New workloads focus on solving brand new problems. In other words, we are going to start using all of this power specifically to help us understand humans and the world around us. So how do you do this? With no wires, with no markers, no external cameras, with no phones, and no connection to a PC required. Let's learn a little bit more about this amazing, magical device that is Microsoft HoloLens.
The hardware allows us to take these visions, these ideas about these new products, and make it all real.
Imagine a computer that allows you to put your images anywhere, and you can interact with things as a combination of the real world and holograms.
You have a bunch of different systems that need to come together in one big symphony.
Every time you think you understand it, it's like peeling an onion. There's suddenly another layer of things which you suddenly realize, oh yeah, of course, we have to figure that out now.
We don't have room for error, we don't have room for drift, we don't have room for those normal things that happen in a device.
So it's working with these people across the world and bringing it all together into this brand new product.
We envisioned an all-in-one device that is untethered, with built-in batteries, hands-free, and floating audio.
You have to come up with a holographic processing unit because you're constantly producing data every single millisecond.
VisoLens is so complex. While it looks very simple and pure, it needs to accommodate so many requirements to see progressive content.
The audio components need to take in all of that information about where is my head, where am I looking, so that your brain knows that there's something real over there.
The enclosure wraps around the user's head to provide great weight distribution.
We have so many sensors on this product. To read all those in real time and to do that in a very power-efficient way requires the power of what they developed with the new version of Windows.
We need to get the hardware just right so that we can sort of unleash that creativity in the world.
I think we have great ideas. I think when we get it out to developers, we're going to get hundreds of great ideas.
And that's what Build Conference is all about, right? We want to get it out to people, show them, hey, this is real and this actually works. Now, let's see what you can do with it.
With Windows 10, holograms are universal Windows apps, and all universal Windows apps can be made to work on Windows Holographic. Everything you have seen here today is a universal Windows app. Developers, this opens up a new vein of innovation and a new vein of opportunity. With holograms, you'll have a new canvas to express your creativity. Your apps can come to life, and they can be experienced naturally in the world around you. But seeing is believing. So let's take a look at how portability of experiences enabled by Windows 10 can change the way makers like you interact with the physical things that you build. And to show us mixing holograms with IoT, please help me welcome on stage my very good friend, Miko.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Miko.
I'd like you to meet B15. This year, millions of people will use maker kits like this one to enter robot competitions and learn about electronics. Many of them will use Raspberry Pi 2, which now supports Windows 10 IoT Core. We were inspired to see what we could do with the same hardware and HoloLens. So let me show you. B15, wake up. Say hello to the real B15. Because every Windows 10 device has APIs for human and environment understanding. We were able to overlay a holographic robot on top of a physical one. And one thing we noticed while working is,
You need your data to be easily accessible. But adding displays to this frame increases your cost, and there's no way to see all that information at once. So let me show you how we check on our data. B15 control panel. This spatial UI system is a universal Windows app. I'm pulling the data from B15, making it as big as I need it to be, and placing it where it's relevant in my world.
And I love it that Miko didn't have to actually go back to her desk to do it. This is a great example of how Windows 10 makes your digital life more powerful by connecting it with your real life.
That's right. You can waste a lot of time tweaking variables on another device before you test. But if all I need to do is something simple like change LED color, I can use a control scheme like this. So that's how we envision controls and displays evolving with holograms.
Now, so many industrial robots need to find paths safely through their workspaces. Let's take a look at how Miko can help B15 navigate and how holograms can help.
So B15 sensors aren't great at detecting obstacles, but the cool thing is they don't have to be. My HoloLens can communicate that information. B15 pathfinding mode.
Now with Windows Holographic, we can scan an environment. We can queue up movement tasks and visualize the robot's path.
So all I have to do is air tap the ground. My HoloLens interprets the 3D points and tells B15 when to turn and when to move forward.
Now this is a great example of how portable our Windows experiences can be. B15 didn't have to know its environment. The room understanding comes from Windows Holographic. But what happens when the environment actually changes?
That's no problem. Because I'm wearing HoloLens, I'm always aware of B15. I can see it updated its route to go around you. And this is critical if you're working with bigger robots, like those in automotive manufacturing. You need to always be aware of a robot's intentions. HoloLens helps developers understand robots better at any scale or in any scenario.
This is just amazing. Thank you so much, Miko. And nice to meet you, B15.
B15, say goodbye. See you later, Alex.
Later, guys. Now, at some point in time, you get this feeling you could actually be creating something meaningful. But that feeling is materially different from seeing architects excited about it, from seeing doctors and professors excited about it, for seeing developers like you excited about it. People outside of Microsoft who start understanding the tools, who start understanding what they have in front of them, who start painting with this brand new palette and these brand new paintbrushes. It's humbling and it's exciting at the same time. It is in that spirit that we have brought hundreds of HoloLens devices, just like the ones you saw on stage today, all running on Windows 10, so that you, here at Build, can experience holograms for yourselves over the next few days. From holographic presentations featuring Skype, to one-on-one demos like the Trimble experience I showed you earlier today, and my personal favorite, our very own Holographic Academy, where you'll be able to build your very first holographic experience from scratch. We have a lot to share with you this week here at Build. Now, registration for all of this begins after the keynote. Space is limited, so make sure you sign up for all of these activities by going to the web or simply by using the Build app. The holographic journey starts with you, the Windows developers, and it starts right here and it starts right now. And with that, I want to thank you, and let's welcome Satya back on stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. That's just magical stuff. Hopefully you
get the essence of our ambition with Windows 10 when we say we want to move the users of Windows to move from needing Windows to choosing Windows to loving Windows. At the core of our company is empowerment, empowering us all. It's our mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And it starts by empowering every one of you, every developer on the planet. Thank you so very much for being here today and for being at this conference. I thought we will end today's morning keynote by playing the music that David composed for us this morning on StaffPad. Thank you and have a great rest of Build. Thank you very, very much.